I saw a big hole on the side of the top cover of the greenhouse. Next to the hole, there were 10 holes with less than one punch. On the ground of the greenhouse, many roots and stems of the green pepper seedlings were directly broken, and many tender leaves were damaged. Only a few seedlings were intact. Moist and slightly dry 10 stones were scattered. As for the other seedlings in the greenhouse, because of the damage of the greenhouse and the loss of moist air, the leaves and stems are hanging down like frost. The whole situation in the greenhouse is extremely bad. What's going on? Mo Shanghua Mao Guang looks for a circle in the greenhouse and finally falls on the steward. The Mao color has recovered to a calm. But the calmness made the steward more frightened than anger. The cold sweat he had just wiped from his forehead came out again. Slave, slave. Why still not? Do you want me to punish you for concealing the truth before you tell the truth? The voice of the flowers on the street is as clear and empty as jade, but because of their expressionless face, they feel a little angry and powerful. The steward's heart trembled, thin sweat ran down his nose, faltered for a long time, and then said, back to the princess. The slave was only found this morning. It seems that he was maliciously damaged by people nearby. Because it was not long before he found out, the slave didn't have time to report it to the princess, so I beg her to forgive me. On the street, there was some thought in the flower eyes, but the eyebrows and eyes on the face did not move. Your responsibility will be discussed later. After a pause, her eyes lit through the hole in the shed and looked out at the dark sky. Her eyes were dim. As soon as the greenhouse was destroyed, the cool wind in the middle of the night would blow in, swaying the damaged seedlings to the left and right, and the tender roots seemed to fall at any time. The steward was a little relieved, but he didn't dare to relax. He bowed his head and stepped aside. Mo Shanghua's eyes fell indifferently on the holes on the side of the roof of the shed. He said in a low voice, "These seedlings can't be delayed. Now you go to get the remaining materials from last time, fill up these holes, and then clean up here. You can only collect stones. You don't have to dig these seedlings." "Yes." The steward answered and went down eagerly. The other 2 boys also got busy. The one who moved the ladder, and the one who tidied up the field tidied up the field. Chinya just walked in at this time. Seeing this, she asked the Mamshangwa about it, and the Mamshangwa told her the truth. Then she went to the chair where she was in charge to please and watched them repair it. Until the steward did all the things she ordered, he said, "Go back first, don't worry about me. By the way, Mo Yen sleeps too hard at night. I may have something to tell you at any time. It was only yesterday that the shed was destroyed. Today, someone will come to check the situation. She must have a good look at who is so brave." This. The steward's brow wrinkled in distress, as if in a dilemma. "If you only leave the princess here, the slave will have 10,000 courage and dare not. What's more, it's so late now, and it's more serious at night. Otherwise, you'd better move first and come back tomorrow?" Chinya has been with Mo Shanghua for a long time. Knowing that her mind is unpredictable and that she has a reason to do things, she stepped forward and said with great momentum, "Does the princess need to discuss things with you? You just need to do it." "Yes, yes." She was scolded by the yellow-haired girl, but she didn't dare to retort. She hurriedly went down with the 2 boys. Seeing that the shed is clean, Mo Shanghua deliberately covers the gate of the shed, turns out the lamp in the shed, pulls Chinya to the dark corner of the shed, and hides it with breath-holding. After a whole hour, the night was completely quiet, and only a little rustling sound was heard outside. There was a faint sound of footsteps. Through the clear and soft moonlight, a slightly bent black figure silhouette was cast on the translucent greenhouse wall. The silhouette stood stealthily at the repaired hole for a while, then groped to the entrance of the shed, pushed open the door and came in. It seemed that she thought it was too dark here. She took out an old candlestick and lit it. It seemed that she was looking at something in the shed. She looked a little strange. Under the dim yellow candlelight, it shows a wrinkled and dry cheek like a dry orange peel. The eyes are pressed into a gap because of drooping, but the furtive color in the eyes is clear. It's the old woman. As soon as Chinya saw this man, she felt a little resentful, but she didn't move. She asked in a low voice, "Princess, this old woman must have a bad intention. We can't let her go, But do it now? The person who made her so excited was not someone else. It was Zhang Wang who hurt Chen Lin. Wait a minute. The flower on the street shakes her head gently. Her eyes are dark. She can't see half of the tension. Instead, she has a little bit of potential. It can be seen that she is very confident in this matter. Qinya nodded, then did not say more, obediently shrank in the flower body side. Suddenly, she took a candlestick to sneak around the shed. She took a look at the mended shed roof. Her orange skin-wrinkled face turned a little black after a while. She murmured in a low voice, "It's fast, but how can my old lady let you do what you want? It's a pity that these good seedlings." As she spoke, she took out the candlestick. Not long after that, the sound of sua-sua came back, the shadows were moving, the goats were singing, and then there were 4 or 5 sheep at the door. Zhang Wang followed. She closed the door again. Then she found a place to hang the candlestick. She picked up the salt water in her hand, dipped it in a little salt water, and scattered it all over the seedlings in the shed. Just now, because of the strange environment, the sheep, who seemed a little confused, suddenly ran past as if they saw something with fatal attraction. However, before he came to the seedlings, his eyes suddenly became cold. The silver needle in his hand shot at the sheep mercilessly, directly through the head of the sheep. Even if the 3 or 4 sheep were lying on the ground, their bodies twitched slightly. Qinya didn't know where to find a long stick. She directly knocked out the 2 sheep with the long stick. Then, before Zhang Wang's reaction, she went forward quickly and locked the gate. After holding the key, she quickly came forward and pushed Zhang Wang to the ground to hold her down. In this way, it only happened within a few seconds. Wang did not even have a chance to react, and the situation was settled instantly. For a long time, the pain brought by the pressure on his arm made Zhang Wang feel comfortable. He rubbed his eyes with disbelief. Then he looked at the flower walking towards his stranger in front of him. His face was replaced by deep confusion and panic. At this time, she realized how dangerous and terrible she was. She really provoked her. She was afraid that she could not live at all. Just in panic, Emo Shanghua stood in front of Zhang Wangshi. He looked down at Zhang Wangshi and said in an indifferent voice, "Say it, who ordered you to come?" As she spoke, she pulled out a small and sharp dagger from her waist and played with her thin fingers indifferently. Under the faint candlelight, the dagger flashed a chilling cold light and a sharp killing intention. Qinya had helped to teach the evil slaves in the mansion before. At this time, she was more courageous than before. Seeing this, she said, "You can see clearly. This blade doesn't have eyes," said, holding her arm hand followed with some strength. Zhang Wang's body can't help shaking as he screams in pain. She was not a slave and had not been given any special explanation. Now, seeing that her posture was not good, she did not dare to be blunt. She immediately said, "Yes, I said, girl, you must be careful with the knife in hand. If you tell me the truth, I won't do anything to you." Emo Shanhua's hand of playing with the blade pauses down. His eyes seem to sweep Zhang Wang's carelessly, but in fact they quietly pay attention to the movement outside the shed. Although she didn't think about the man in black today, she still kept her heart. At the beginning, she came here just to see what happened, which would make Qinya in such a hurry. But now, she wants to see if that person will appear. Zhang Wang was relieved and about to open her mouth. Suddenly, an arrow came from behind her and went straight to Zhang Wang's neck. If it's just like this, it's okay, but at this time, Qinya is still suppressing her behind Zhang Wang's family. If the arrow really comes, it will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Qinya is her right hand and left hand, so nothing can happen. Just now, before Qinya reacts, the flower on the street rushes behind Qinya. Just now, he carelessly pinches the dagger playing with his fingertips and suddenly tightens it. At the last moment, she used a dagger to block her body. Just now, the arrow with the potential of breaking through the air was blocked by the blade of the dagger, which made a clear, dang sound. She didn't fall down, which showed the great impact. Emo Shanhua's slender hand holding the dagger didn't even tremble. She stopped steadily, then turned her wrist, and the arrow fell on the ground. At the same time, her eyes also through the translucent shed wall, looking to the front. There was no candle outside the shed. She could only see the shadow of a man and the shadow of a bough in the man's hand. It's not the man. Mo Shanghua's mind immediately surged with this idea. Before he had time to think about the next step, the figure moved again and ran for several meters. 2 arrows suddenly burst through the shed wall and shot at Zhang Wangshe and Qinya respectively. Qinya had already reflected at this time, and subconsciously wanted to avoid, but because she had not practiced martial arts, her movements were too slow. On the other hand, Zhang Wang was completely stunned. He could not move as if he had a root. Mo Shanghua doesn't have any feelings about Zhang Wang's life or death at all. She sweeps Qinya like the wind and takes a step towards her body. The arrow immediately rubs Qinya's neck. Zhang Wang was not so lucky. The arrow shot directly into her heart. She screamed in pain and fell down convulsively. The flower's eyes on the street were full of obliteration. The simple hand holding the dagger suddenly reversed. When the faint cold light flowed from the sharp blade, the dagger also came out of her hand and shot at the black shadow outside the shed faster than the arrow. The shadow outside just moved and was ready to dodge. The dagger broke through the shed wall and broke the neck of the shadow. On the plain white gauze paper, there was a feint of poppy-like scarlet color and a shrill scream. The flower on the street did not move. She scanned around the greenhouse with alert eyes. When she saw that there was no change, she gathered all her momentum. She didn't look at Zhang Wang on the ground, so she took a candlestick and took Qinya out. She squatted down in front of the man in black and took off the black veil on his face. This man's dress is the same as that of the man in black seen in the daytime, but his body shape is different, and his martial arts are far inferior to that of the man in black. The only smart thing is that he doesn't wear any token to prove his identity. But, although there is no token, but the flower in the heart also has a number. This man must be Jiang Wu's man. Just now, the most important task is to kill people. Qinya is just passing by. Did not get the desired results. Mo Shanghua did not lose much, stood up and looked at the dark sky outside, and sighed. It's time to be ugly. Thinking of this, Mo Shanghua doesn't stay much longer. He goes to the steward with Qinya and asks him to dispose of the corpses in the shed overnight. He also orders some measures to repair the shed and rectify the seedlings in the shed. After that, he and Qinya rush back to the city quickly. When Mo Shanghua rushed back to the mansion, it was already 3 minutes in Yin time. Qinya was very sleepy. When she went back to the mansion, she buried herself in a hard sleep. However, Mo Shanghua was not sleepy. She simply recalled Qinya's symptoms and took some medical books to study the method of detoxification. She is good at both medicine and poison. The poison in Qinya's medicine today is not strange. Therefore, it's not very difficult to understand. You can go to the drugstore when you want to use herbs. But at present, one of the most difficult herbs is one of the precious herbs. There is no medicine in Wujuan. If you want to get it, you have to go back to Yuzhou. It will take a lot of time to get it. Qinya can't wait. Fortunately, she vaguely remembered that there was a common herb that could replace it. But she couldn't remember it for a moment, so she had to read the medical books. After reading 5 or 6 medical books, Mo Shanghua found this kind of medicine which can be substituted. He took notes, wrote the prescription and pressed it under the ink stone. Busy for 2 hours, a little sleepy also surged up between the eyebrows and eyes. The body cannot help but relax on the soft back of the chair, raised his hand and gently rubbed the center of the eyebrows. It is time to relax vigilance, but I don't know when Yan Beicheng quietly came in, but the flowers on the street didn't feel it. Yan Beicheng stood quietly in the dark, looking at the delicate cheek with warm light reflected by the flowers and candles on the street. The eye light stopped at his tired eyebrows and eyes. Between the black phoenix eyes, there was a touch of heartache. He moved his steps. At this time, he suddenly realized that there was someone in the room. His eyes were suddenly sharp, but when he saw the person coming, he immediately returned to calm. His voice was rare to ease and hoarse because of fatigue. So late at night, why don't you have a rest? What are you doing here? Yan Beicheng didn't answer immediately. Instead, he suddenly stepped forward and picked her up. The corner of his lips aroused a smile of evil. Concubine AI has become more and more charming recently. It's inevitable that I will come here. While talking, he came to the bed with flowers in his arms. Mo Xianghua was surprised. He really thought that Yan Beiqing was going to do something. He jumped from his arms. He wanted to jump to the ground, but Yan Beiqing stopped him and fell directly on the bed. Before he had time to respond, Yan Beiqing had already sat beside the bed, and his slender big hand touched her ankle. The flower on the street couldn't help but sit up and tug at Yan Beiqing's sleeve. Yan Beiqing, don't be fooled. Who told you that I was going to fool around? Yan North City sword eyebrow funny like picked, and then one side low Mao action gently help her take off shoes and socks, one side way, this king can't you think so dirty. As soon as the shoes and socks were taken off, the jade feet were as white as lotus roots. But the soft soles of the feet were blistered at some time. It was quite eye-catching to go forward. Mo Xianghua was stunned because of Yan Beiqing's words. She didn't even notice the coolness brought by her shoes and socks. She just stared at Yan Beiqing. I don't know what to do. If it hurts, shout it out. Yan Beiqing looked at the blisters on Mo Xianghua's feet. He twisted his eyebrows deeply and asked in a low voice. He began to squeeze out the blisters on her feet one by one. After wiping them with a handkerchief, he took out a circular porcelain vase the size of a thumb from his waist. His fingers were stained with cream and carefully smeared on the blisters. After that, he took off the other shoe and sock and repeated his action. Mo Xianghua had already returned to her mind, and her eyes were out of control, staring at Yan Beiqing from beginning to end. These blisters, she walked for a day, did not find, more did not care, how Yan Beiqing looked so concerned about the appearance. I don't know if it's her illusion. She always feels that there is countless tenderness in Yan Beiqing's deep eyes. But once she looks at it carefully, it will disappear like a bubble, which makes her confused. She always doesn't know whether it's true or not. Why? I'm fascinated by you. It was at that time that Yan Beiqing didn't know when to deal with her other foot, and her serious appearance disappeared completely, returning to her old dandy appearance. The ear lobes of the flowers on the street were tiny and indisputable. They were a little faint red. They pulled the brocade quilt and indented the jade feet into the brocade quilt. They said, I'm just thinking about things. If you're busy, you can go immediately. Yan Beiqing's delicate facial features suddenly wrinkled together, and his face was full of grievances. I just helped the princess deal with the injury. How can you have the heart to drive me away now? It's almost dawn. What can you do if you stay here? Why don't you go back and have a good sleep, so that you won't lose your spirit tomorrow? Mo Xianghua stares at Yan Beiqing's face full of grievances. She feels a little soft in her heart. She turns her head and opens her mouth with cold cheek. It's the same for me to sleep with the princess. With that, Yan Beiqing took off his shoes and socks, turned over to bed, pulled the brocade quilt on the flower, and wrapped himself in it. Mo Xianghua's body subconsciously shrinks toward the inside, and Yan Beiqing is lying on the bed directly with the situation. He is very proud and raises his hand to hold her thin shoulder. It's late. Let's go to bed earlier. Then he closed his eyes and went to sleep. You. His action was completed in one fell swoop. When he reacted to it, he saw that Yan Beiqing had closed his eyes and suddenly became angry. She stared at Yan Beiqing's sleeping face for a long time. She wanted to raise her hand and pinch his ear to wake him up. But the tip of his finger just arrived at his earlobe, and he could not help scratching his head. He just carefully helped himself with the medicine, and the tip of his finger suddenly gave a meal. Under the candlelight, the scarlet birthmark on Yan Beiqing's cheek, because it was on the other side of his face, only his three-dimensional facial features, which were as delicate as jade, seemed to hide countless fatigue and pain. I can't help thinking that he hasn't slept so late, and there are so many secrets behind him. In case he is really just tired of spring. So thinking, Mo Xianghua also took back his hand, carefully moved his long arm away from his shoulder, and lay on his back. However, she just took Yan Beiqing's arm away. He seemed to be aware of it, turned over, and took his long arm around her waist. Mo Xianghua just wanted to attack, but listening to the sound of breathing behind him, the heart finally collapsed, no action. Even so, she said angrily, you are so deep-minded that you sleep very fast. It's strange and hateful. So recited too, also don't see behind what movement. She also inexplicably sleepy down, slowly close eyes to sleep. It was not until Emo Shanghua fell asleep that Yan Beiqing, who should have fallen asleep early behind him, suddenly opened his eyes. What he saw in his eyes was the endless dark color, which was very unpredictable and difficult to understand. For a long time, he looked down at the back of the head of the flower. For a long time, the flower will be his arms and pull. This just closed his eyes again, sleep in the past. The next day, is it noon? Emo Shanghua seldom sleeps to the top of the day. She looks at the warm sunshine outside and does not whisper. Back to the princess, it's really noon. Seeing this, Qinya came over with a copper plate. As she twisted her handkerchief, she frowned and said, I'm afraid the princess was too tired yesterday. She woke up so late today. Emo Shanghua just woke up, and her thoughts were still a little erratic. She nodded casually. Then, as if she thought of something, she suddenly said, Where's Yanbei City? Lord. Qinya made a gesture in her hand, and then she looked at the flowers on the street like a joke. She pursed her lips and laughed. Princess, don't worry. The prince didn't go out to look for flowers and willows today. Now he is having lunch. Emo Shanghua didn't pay attention to Qinya's teasing eyes. After hearing this, she didn't follow. She got up as usual to change clothes and have lunch. Then she asked Qinya to see Qin Lin, and sent someone else to take the medicine according to the prescription she wrote yesterday. She locked herself in the room for 2 hours before she made the antidote pill and sent it to Qinya. Qinya is very grateful with the antidote pill. She kneels down to worship the gift. Even Qin Lin, who is still ill, struggles to get out of bed and insists on kneeling down to salute Emo Shanghua. He can't speak, so he can only express his gratitude in sign language. You two are my left and right hands, and it's because you're with me that you'll suffer. You don't have to. The flowers on the street helped the two people up one by one, gently comforting them. Qinya looked at each other in person. After a long time, Qinya choked and said, Princess, our brother and sister are the slaves you bought, and you are so kind to us. We should be loyal to you. Not only now, but also in the future, we will go down for you. Qin Lin nodded to one side, obviously agreeing with Qinya's words. Emo Shanghua's delicate mandible was lighter, and her trust in them suddenly rose to a higher level. She told them what they should pay attention to when taking medicine, and then let them go ahead. Wait until 2 people retreat. Emo Shanghua just sat down and pondered over what happened these days. From the beginning, Jiang Wu invited them to stay in the sheriff's residence. After that, everything happened to her or the people around her. It can be seen that the ultimate goal of the people behind her is to put her to death. No, it should be said that it is to get rid of her first, which is to get rid of Yan Beiqing through her death. If you want to kill Yan Beiqing, the person behind will never be just Jiang Wu. After all, it's no good for him to get rid of Yan Beiqing, and he may be implicated. Now, he's not afraid of involvement, and he's afraid of the people behind him. I'm afraid the person behind this is the same as the mysterious people in black yesterday. It's very likely that they came from the Imperial City, or some other mysterious organization that Yanbei City is alive and threatens them. Others don't matter, but if Yan Beiqing dies, all her future plans will be affected. What's more, they have already touched her interests. Well, no matter who these people are, she must meet them for a while. The first thing to solve is Jiang Wu. After Jiang Wu is removed, the power of the Wu County will be lost. Wu Juan is so important. If you take Wu Juan, it must be a great trauma to the people behind it. It's also a warning to them. However, her strength is not enough now. She must find Yan Beiqing to cooperate with her. Thinking about this, Emo Shanghua doesn't hesitate at the moment. He asks someone where Yan Beiqing is, so he goes to find him and plans to make it clear to him. When Yan Beiqing saw Emo Shanghua coming to find himself, he could not help picking his sword eyebrows and laughing. How can the princess come to find me today? Is it hard to think about yesterday's tenderness and miss me? This kind of frivolous ridicule, Mo Xianghua has long been used to listening to it, and automatically ignored it. She only spoke in a low voice. I have something important to tell you. Say, Mao light in the house stands of several small sea body sweep. You all go down. I want to talk to the princess. Yan Beiqing knew it immediately, but he still opened his mouth with a smile. What he said is very easy for people to imagine. The little fellow tacit smile, busy all back down, still don't forget to close the door, all stand far away. Mo Xianghua didn't have the heart to argue too much with him about this kind of thing. He directly opened the chair and sat down behind him. He went straight to the important thing. When I was in Yuzhou to help you cure that patient, do you remember what you promised me? Naturally. When Yan Beiqing saw that Mo Xianghua was so serious and no one was looking up at him, he temporarily restrained his frivolous attitude and became serious. What's the matter? But what kind of trouble has he encountered that can't be solved? Mo Xianghua's delicate chin is light, and there is a solemnity in Qingling's eyes. It's not only my trouble but also yours. The king is all ears. Yan Beiqing leaned forward slightly, showing an extremely interested appearance. Hearing this, Mo Xianghua sat up straight and said in a soft voice, I think you know what happened recently. Jiang Wu's ambition is against you and me again and again. But now he's in charge of Wujuan, so he has to get rid of it. Many points she did not say clearly, but Yan Beiqing also thought about it in a flash. In his dark eyes, there was a faint light. For a long time, his thin lip was gently raised. How do you want to do it? Jiang Wu's influence on this side can be said to be luxuriant. It's impossible for me alone. I think as long as you fulfill your previous promise and you and I join hands, he will never be able to resist. The flowers on the street are shining and moistening, and the fingertips tap on the table rhythmically. The water eyes are as quiet as the ancient tan without any waves. After a pause, she just added, after it's done, I only need Wujuan grain to have jurisdiction over it, and I don't want the rest. You can arrange it by yourself. She knew in her heart that Yanbei City was a wolf, so she could not be insatiable with wolves. This one was enough. What's more, although Qianlin took refuge in him and other grain merchants also controlled her, she didn't completely grasp it. She needed an official name. However, this grain can be equivalent to the lifeline of Wujuan and even the whole Yuzhou. Yan Beiqing has his own plan in mind, but he probably won't agree. Thinking about this, I can't help thinking about how to persuade them in the next step. Never thought, her mind just a turn, but Yan Beiqing is suddenly disapproval of the smile. You want, give you no harm. The tone is very light, as if the promise is not the lifeblood of a city, but a beautiful but meaningless treasure. Mo Xianghua's plain hand, who tapped on the table, suddenly stopped. His eyes showed an unbelievable color and asked subconsciously, don't you know what this means? Of course, I know, so I still have additional conditions. Yan Beiqing sat up straight, pretending to open his mouth mysteriously. What? The flower eyes on the street are half confused and half thoughtful. In Mo Xianghua's puzzled eyes, Yan Beiqing suddenly stood up, one hand on the table, one hand gently pinched her delicate jaw. I was originally clumsy, but now I find that you are really very beautiful. I really like you. Why don't you play with me? Just some fun? Mo Xianghua's first reaction was not that he was frivolous, but that he had such an attitude, which made her feel a little unhappy. She couldn't help saying in a cold voice, beautiful women are everywhere. I'm afraid everyone says so, apprentice. Yan North City lips Cape smiled to pause half a moment, then accepted to accept, again that relaxed and loose appearance sat to return to, but make a joke with you just. His deep, inky eyes flickered, but he couldn't see what he looked like. I've agreed to all the conditions you said, but you know that I've been used to idling all the time. I really don't want to go out in person. It's a bad plan for me to play. I need you to worry about it. Is he going to go on playing pig and eating tiger? Mo Xianghua pondered for a while, and then said in a light voice, okay, but if I need help, I hope you can do your best. That's nature. Yan North City ordered to nod, promise of very straightforward. The willow eyebrows on the street are slightly frowning. It seems that they are puzzled. You don't ask anything, aren't you afraid of pressing the wrong treasure? You know, they are still on the territory of Wujuan. If they make a mistake, they may lose everything. Yen Beiqing has been hiding her strength for so many years. Isn't she afraid to destroy it all? Are you not confident in yourself? Yen Beiqing didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked in a low voice, with a smile on his lips and dark eyes. Not so much that he believes in Mo Shanghua, but rather that he is confident in his own strength. Mo Shanghua was stunned. Knowing that he didn't want to say anything, he didn't worry about it, so he changed the topic. Now I need you to provide me with some people to monitor Jiang Wu's every move and send someone to report to me every day. As for the rest, I will arrange it myself. Good. Yen Beiqing agreed without hesitation. The king will arrange for someone in a moment. Got Yen Beiqing's promise, Mo Shanghua's delicate jaw gently click, and then stood up. I have to go back to arrange the rest of the things, then go ahead. Wait a minute. What else? The flower on the street stops, and the color of the eyes condenses slightly. Yen Beiqing raised his hand and touched it in his sleeve. He took out a pamphlet and pushed it to the flower table on the street. This is what you asked Hua Qianlu to check a few days ago. I just went to Qinghuan Pavilion yesterday and brought it for you. In the eyes of the flower Qingling on the street, there was some dark color, but the smart didn't ask anything. He took the book, said thank you, and went back. Along the way, she was thinking that the real strength of Yanbei City had exceeded her previous imagination. Qinghuan Pavilion's information is not only extremely accurate, but also excellent in confidentiality. It is impossible to give the information to anyone other than the buyer. Yen Beiqing takes it so lightly. He is afraid that he has a lot to do with Hua Qianlu and Qinghuan Pavilion. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she was. Finally, she was calm. She picked up the pamphlet and read it carefully. The cover of this book is brand new, and the pages inside are also brand new. At a glance, we can see that it has just been sorted out recently. Nevertheless, the contents are recorded in great detail, and almost all of Lu's actions are recorded. Of course, the most important is his contact with Jiang Wu. It turns out that Counselor Lu has been in contact with Jiang Wu since 2 years ago, and they have done some dirty things in private. It's just that in the past 2 years, they only have contact when necessary. They don't usually have much contact, but recently they suddenly have more contact. It seems that Jiang Wu really inspired them to do the last thing. The cold color in the flower eyes on the street flashed by, and the pamphlet in her hand was closed by her. She only raised her voice and called, "Come on." As soon as the words fell, Qin Lin and Qin Ye came in and saluted her respectfully. The flower eyebrow heart on the mo is Siu to get up. I am not to let you well recuperate a few days? The brother and sister looked at each other, and then Qin Ye said, Princess, my brother and I have almost recovered. Don't worry. Besides, it's not very peaceful these days, and there's no one around you who can take advantage of it. Although our brother and sister are dull, they are sincere to you, so you should never abandon them. Although Qin Lin could not speak, he also looked at the flowers on the street with a sincere face. Only one look was enough to explain everything. Mo Shanghua frowned and looked at the two brothers and sisters for a while, then nodded faintly. That's so, then you will come back to serve. Qin Lin and Qin Ye were all relieved. Then they looked at each other with a smile and came closer. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua was no longer coy and said, I remember a few days ago, I asked Lu Yuan why to replace all the grain and return it. I haven't had time these days. Now it's gone several days. Can he do it? Qin Lin has been responsible for staring at things outside. Although he is ill these days, he has not been able to get down. Now, seeing this, he uses his hand gestures to describe it. Back to the princess. People from the grain shop have just talked back and forth this morning, saying that they have already sent 500 jin of rice. They have all opened their bags and checked them. They are all white polished rice. This man is good at learning, or princess, you have a way. Seeing this, Qin Ye snorted and could not help murmuring. Do you know where these rice grains come from? In the flower eyes on the street, there are some suspicions. I feel strange and tight in my heart. Just now that pamphlet should have been sorted out 2 days ago. There was no record of these days, so she was not very clear. Let's not say that Lu Yuan is out there. That is to say, most of the rice in Wu County is in her hands. How can she get so much rice in other places at one time? Thinking of this, she was more and more confused. However, Qin Lin shook his head with a blank face. He was already ill. It was not easy for him to pay attention to these obscure things. He really had no spare energy to explore them. The flower on the street only nods her mandible to respond. It seems that there is a light wave in her eyes. She taps on the table subconsciously and thinks to herself. In fact, it doesn't need to be too tangled. What matters now is Jiang Wu's business. Jiang Wu used to make trouble with Lu Yuan before, but now she might as well treat him in her own way. A plan slowly took shape in her mind. Thinking of this, the pure white fingers of the flower tapping on the table stopped, and the look in his eyes was calm and deep. Qin Lin, you let people pass on the message, and let member Lu come to reply, and this matter need not be covered up in front of others. Qin Lin nodded and went down after the ceremony. Yuzhou, young master, Nanha girl asks to see you. The graceful and enchanting woman stops in front of the willows and opens her mouth gently. Flower thousand willow, originally a face exasperation of take, usually that saw bow of fold fan in the hand of the gas hoo-hoo of force fan. At this time listen to the maid's words, on the face suddenly more and more agitated up. She come to do what, Yen North City explain her affair isn't enough. At the thought of Yen Beiqing, the master of Nanha, he gritted his teeth angrily. He wanted to run back now and beat him up. Although he may not be able to beat that guy. After listening to Yen Beiqing's words, he spent 2 days in a hurry to come back. When he came back, he found that Qinghuan Pavilion was nothing serious at all. Those little things had been dealt with long ago, and Yen Beiqing had taken advantage of the token on purpose. This person is really careful. He just teased a few words with the small mo flower. He unexpectedly so toss at him. At the thought of this, the flower willow is more and more angry. The maid was not afraid. She said in a soft voice, I guess it's mostly because of the king's business. Sir, are you seeing me or not? Of course, I want to see you. Go and invite her in. Flower thousand willow to South Crane also have some understanding. No, she is not easy to send, simply powerless should come down. The maid just took orders to go on. In a short time, Nanhe was graceful and came in step by step. She was wearing a water dove-colored dress, and her black hair poured out like splashing ink behind her. There were only a few simple hairpins in her hair, which made her pretty face more and more gentle and refined. With such a good appearance, you can see that it is not common. Hua Qianlu has returned to his usual casual appearance. He gently shakes his folding fan rhythmically. If you remember correctly, Brother Beiqing should have given you all the things in the palace before he left. The affairs in the palace are busy. How can you have time to come to me today? In fact, even if Nanhe didn't say it, he was clear in his heart. After all, many people were clear about the fact that Nanhe had been happy with Yanbei City for many years. Being questioned so directly, Nanha was not annoyed. He spoke softly in his voice. Saibi has dealt with the affairs in the mansion. I heard that you are back, young Master Hua. I'll clean up now. Her face was gentle and quiet. After that, she lifted her eyes and glanced at the look of Hui Qianliu. Then she continued, I heard that Wagangzi came back from Wujuan? Flower thousand willow bear in the heart impatient, Atwill nodded. Yes, South Crane girl isn't. Want to listen to this child talk about the local conditions and customs, beautiful scenery wonders over there? Young Master Hua misunderstood. Nanha quietly interrupted. Meimu was as gentle as Qingchuan. To tell you the truth, the prince hasn't sent any news to the mansion for 2 days, and the people I sent to inquire about haven't come back. I really can't put down my heart. Now you happen to come back, so I come here in a hurry to ask if you have any news here. In fact, it's not that Yen Beiqing didn't send the news back, but that his news was not sent to Nanha. Naturally she can't know. Now she is just deliberately cheating Hui Qianliu. However, the seemingly casual flower willow is not so easy to cajole. He didn't believe half of it. He said with a habitual smile, "You're asking the wrong person. Your prince is busy all day. I can't see the end. Where can I see it? I've only met the princess at most." The relationship between them is so good that they can't see each other. Nanha was angry in his heart, but he only showed a little regret on his face. Then he continued to ask, "Speaking of it, the princess and I are just like old friends at first sight. When she was still in the palace, we met very happily. Now that Wagangzi met her, how can we know what she is doing now? Everything has been handled well?" Hua Qianlu gently shakes the folding fan's hand and stops. The long fox's eyes are a bit of a smile. The princess of Beicheng brother is cold and tight. She is indifferent to everyone. She even loves to reply to me. It's really rare that she can talk to her more. Nanha gracefully folded his hands in front of him and tightened them slightly, but there were no mistakes on his face. He just chuckled and said, "Wang Feishu is a little closer to me because she sees that I'm too hard at cooking. But I forget that you are so understanding and considerate. How can anyone dislike you?" Hua Qianliu's beautiful lips were lightly hooked, and he said with a smile, "However, I only know that the princess looks good, and I don't know what's next. The princess is well, and the lord must be very good, so I can rest assured." Nanha chuckled at ease, then thought of something. Ruyu frowned and frowned. "But the princess has been gone for more than a month. I don't know if they have mentioned it. When will they come back? This woman has so many problems, and she always likes to be so circuitous. It's really annoying." Flower Thousand Willow Eye Bottom once crossed a few minutes impatient. On the face is still eye view nose view heart, way. Their husband and wife's affair, this child how can know? You don't have to worry too much. I think they will come back immediately when they deal with the affairs of Wujuan. Then he closed the folding fan in his hand, covered his mouth and yawned. "It's really hard to come back all night. I'm so sleepy." After the order to leave, then he had more words in his heart. In order to maintain her image, he got up gracefully. "It's not my fault. It's disturbing the rest of the young master," so Nan he left. At the end of his speech, he bowed down and politely turned away. When the sound of footsteps gradually faded away, Hua Qianlu spread out her body towards the seat behind her, and Tut-Tut said, "Brother Beicheng is really blessed. 1/2, I miss him every day. It seems that he will see some good plays in his backyard in the future." That pair of narrow fox eyes, full of malicious smile. South Crane face as usual back to the palace. Money in the soft collapse after sitting down. Soft water eyes this just light yang up a bit of calm color. Hua Qianlu talked a lot, but he refused to say anything useful. After wasting so long with him, what he said was nonsense. When she thought about it, there was a burst of anger in her heart. If it wasn't for the tight population who was in charge of contacting Wang Yi, she couldn't find out. How could she go to Hua Qianlu the fox? What's more, she didn't expect that he would give orders directly. It's not this that matters, it's the Lord's side. The princess from the imperial city is really not simple. The Lord has paid a little attention to her. Now she has been out with the Lord for 2 months. If the Lord is moved, how can she deal with herself? In fact, if she had been in the past, she would never have this kind of worry, but that day she deliberately tested the attitude of the Lord, and the appearance of the woman now restored, how could she not worry? The longer they were away, the more uneasy she was. No, she can't. She must make the Lord come back as soon as possible. The more he thought about it, the more restless he felt, and the gentleness on his face almost couldn't be maintained. "Come here, get some paper, ink pen and inkstone." She clenched her palm and thought for a long time. Then she raised her head and spoke lightly. "Yes." The maidservant outside the door answered. Soon she gathered her eyes and offered her pen, ink, paper and inkstone with a low purpose. Then she went down obediently, and there was only Nan he left in the room. Nan he directly picked up the Longhao pen, dipped it lightly on the inkstone, and began to write carefully. The original square paper was cut into the size of a palm by her, but the palm-sized paper was covered with beautiful little characters. When the ink was getting dry, she rolled up the note, put it in a little finger-sized mailbox, and took it to the window. As usual, she grabbed the gray carrier pigeon out of the cage, tied the carrier pigeon's legs, and then released it from the window. The carrier pigeon did not stay for a moment, spread its wings and went away towards the sky. Nanha looked at the pigeon's little figure, and a dark color floated slowly in his eyes. His lips said slowly, "Lord, I hope you will return when you see the letter." In spite of this thought, her folded hands slowly tightened, and her fingers turned white, but she suddenly did not know the general, and the fierce color in her eyes also flashed away. "However, if that woman makes you excited, I will never let her go easily." The grass people see the princess. Counselor Lu is much better than he was last time. He bows respectfully at the sight of flowers on the street. "Get up, Chinya, and watch the tea." The light of the flowers in the street sweeps from Counselor Lu's body. The color of the eyes is clear and calm, and you can't see any emotion. The more she was like this, the more uneasy she was. However, she tried to bear it. She got up respectfully and sat down at the next head. "Mr. Lu is so formal. I just want to ask you something." Originally, Emma Shenghua, who used tea with low eyes, suddenly turned her eyes and looked out at Member Lu with a flat voice. Lu Yuan outside the body suddenly a stiff chat of pull lips cape to smile. Is. Emma Shenghua is not in a hurry to see this. She just drops her eyes and continues to taste tea. Yu Guang quietly observes Yuan Lu's look. It wasn't until Mr. Lu was more and more uneasy to sit down that he put down his celadone teacup and said, "I've seen all the rice you sent. It's really excellent. It's half as good as the one sent by Money Manager." It is because of this. Lu Yuanwei had some words in his mind, and then said, "If the princess is not there, these are just the rest of the grain at the harvest this year. At most, they are fresh. How can they compare with Chen Yuanwei?" He answered the question of flowers on the street, and at the same time he took the initiative to explain the source of grain. He thought it was perfect. However, his thoughts had just turned around, and his indifferent voice suddenly turned straight down, as if covered with a layer of cloud. "Do you say your food is the rest of this year? But how can I hear that all your rice is from other places?" Lu outside the heart for a while, busy smile to explain. "Rumors have always been spread by mistake, mostly false. The princess is not very people, can never believe rumors. When did I say that I heard it at will?" Mo Shanghua's face remained unchanged, but her voice only sank a few degrees. "Don't you forget that I know exactly what happened in your granary. Now, I have evidence to prove that what you said is false." "What does the princess mean?" The grassroots people are so stupid that they can't understand it. Lu Yuan's heart quickened from the moment of tension, and the color of confusion in his eyes flashed away. He turned his head and tried to explain. Mo Shanghua didn't answer directly, but she turned her head and looked at Chinya. Chinya nodded and turned around. After a while, she came up with a small wooden box and placed it at the table beside Mr. Lu. "Whether it is or not, it will be clear if Member Lu opens it outside." Chinya raised his finger to the wooden box on the table, which meant something. Member Lu's uneasiness reached the extreme. When he reached the wooden box, he stopped and quietly turned his eyes to sweep the flowers on the street. She is still sitting in the first place. She pinches a cup of tea between her thin and white fingers. Her eyes are blowing the tea foam floating in the tea room. She has not given him any alms. At any time like this, Lu Yuanwei only feels that this kind of flower on the street is more elusive. "What are you looking at outside? Are you afraid?" Seeing that he did not open it, Chinya could not help urging him. Lu member outside this suddenly come back to mind, hesitated for a moment, or will open the wooden box. As soon as Fong opened it, a smell of sawdust came to his nostrils. What came to his eyes was not the important thing at all, but the account that he had taken out last time. Member Lu was a little surprised. He could not help but open the account and read it again. When he saw that it was indeed the book, he felt quite calm. I think the princess misunderstood the meaning of the grass people. The grass people's previous meaning was that the rest of the grain had been counted recently and had not yet been put into the account. Therefore, this account is Do you feel unwell outside, Member Lu? A language is not finished. Mo Shanghua suddenly opened mouth to interrupt. The words are some endless, very abrupt. Lu member outside a moment, then lung come down, full of fog water. What does the princess say? In the hand of Mo Shanghua, the celadone teacup had not even been put down, and her voice continued to speak faintly. The specific symptoms are that the chest is stuffy and the head is dizzy. In 2 hours, the dizziness will turn into headache, and the chest is stuffy. In the next 3 hours, these symptoms will continue to torture you. After 3 hours, the 7 orifices will bleed to death. Although her voice is clear and pleasant, it seems that there is a sudden life-threatening spell between the lines, which makes people feel creepy. What is more terrifying is that with the fall of her voice, Lu Yuanwei, who was still deeply at a loss, actually appeared the symptoms mentioned by Mo Shanghua. Lu's eyes, the size of mung bean, were full of unbelievable colors. His physical symptoms were reminding him all the time that what he said was true. You poisoned me? He rose abruptly and blurted out a word out of control. Naturally. Mo Shanghua didn't have the meaning of covering up at all, so he simply answered, but it's too late for you to find out at this time. As long as you are infected with the poison, it will attack immediately. If there is no antidote in 5 hours, you will surely die. The disbelief on the outside of Lu Yuan was replaced by panic. With the ups and downs of his mood, the depression on his chest became more and more serious, like a huge stone. After a long time, he pinched the root of his thigh hard. Although he didn't dare to use too much force, it was enough to calm him down for a while. Is the princess doing this just to force me to confess? If so, you are not afraid of creating criticism? What he said stuttered and stuttered. As soon as he heard it, he knew that he was weak. He didn't pay any attention to the flowers on the street. He only spoke in a low voice. You are here now. You are all my people up and down here. Do you think someone else will know? By the way, I forgot to tell you that I developed this poison. Except for me, there is no antidote in the world, and no doctor can detoxify it in a short time. When she spoke, she glanced at Qinya as if she had nothing in her eyes. Jiang Wu had poisoned Qinya in order to get rid of her. Her move was revenge for Qinya. Sure enough, Member Lu's face turned white inch by inch, and he couldn't keep his composure any longer. With a sound of "pudum," he knelt down, shivering and couldn't say a word. Mo Shanghua got up and strode to Lu Yuanwei. If you want the antidote, it's easy. I just want you to cooperate with me to do something. I don't know what Lu Yuanwei means. Lu Yuan's eyes suddenly brightened and asked, the grass people are stupid. Please tell the princess clearly. It's very simple. Just stay with me these days. Mo Shanghua lightly spits out a word, as if to say a sparse ordinary thing. Member Lu suddenly jumped out of his mind and felt that it was not as simple as that. The grass people are just civilians. It's not bad for your reputation to stay here. Princess, why don't you change your terms? Mr. Lu, you have to be clear that I am not talking about the terms, but informing you. The temperature in the voice of Mo Shanghua suddenly dropped several degrees, such as the cold wind. Lu Yuan's body trembled and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. Yes, the grass people know. Mo Shanghua then took out a small porcelain vase from her sleeve and handed it to her. There are 3 pills in it, which can temporarily suppress the poison on your body. Each pill can be suppressed for 3 days. Counselor Lu went out and picked it up like a treasure. The clever one didn't dare to ask, "Thank you, princess." Mo Shanghua gently nodded her chin, and her eyes suddenly looked sharp. She said in a loud voice, "It's said that the order of our palace will go down. It's found that the food sent by Counselor Lu has been poisoned. Now many people have died. Now the evidence is conclusive. Put him in custody for the time being and put him in the Chaifang in our hospital." Jiang Wu is the prefect of Wujuan. There is no place in Wujuan where he can't get in. It's not very safe to lock him up anywhere. It's safe to lock him up for the time being, and Yan Beiqing's people will help to watch him. Immediately someone answered under the door. After a while, they went into 2 bodyguards and took Member Lu out. Lu Yuanwei was at a loss when he was told by Mo Shanghua that he had never poisoned rice grain. Mo Shanghua was so slandered. But Mo Shanghua just showed that it didn't look so simple. What did she want to do? As he walked forward with the bodyguard, Lu thought about it in his heart. After thinking about it for a long time, he couldn't figure it out. He only knew that he must have been used. When the bodyguard took the people away, Mo Shanghua called Qinya to the front and asked softly, "Go to the grain shop and arrange it. This play will continue to sing." As early as 2 hours ago, Mo Shanghua ordered Qin Lin to look for some people, pretending to be common people, pretending that some of the writers died of poisoning after eating the grain they sold, making a big scene in front of the grain shop. Now that the goal has been achieved, the play will naturally continue, otherwise the play will be in vain. Mo Shanghua just said a simple word. Qinya immediately understood it and nodded her head. Then she went down to communicate with Qin Lin in sign language, and Qin Lin went down to do it directly. Back to the princess, the elder brother has gone to do it. Qinya just came back, it's just the princess. Does Counselor Lu really want to be here all the time? After all, you are the girl's family. If there is any gossip outside, there's no point in fighting with these indomitable things as long as the goal can be achieved. The flowers on the street are clear and the eyes are indifferent. They are as quiet as an ancient well. Qinya wanted to say 2 more words. Her eyes touched the eyes of the flower on the street and finally swallowed the words to her mouth. Yes. It's almost time. Let's go too. Qinya didn't want to say any more, and she didn't have the heart to ask. She straightened out the folds in front of her skirt and took the lead in walking. Qinya nodded and followed. He put people in his own yard? Yan Beiqing listened to the report of the dark guard. His sword eyebrows suddenly wrinkled, and his eyes were dark. Mo Ling nodded and continued, "Listen to the people over there. He said that he would be shut up with the princess for 3 days. Well, Member Lu is also a man." Yen North City heart suddenly emerged such a words. Mao color done time sink a few su, in send 2 past, certainly will would room closely. The princess there also send a few hands, remember, still not to life danger, can't move. Yes. Mo Ling leaned down and bowed his head. Because of the reason of lowering his head, no one could see the dark color in his eyes. The Lord was so devoted to the princess that he always felt that it was not a good thing. My lord, the big deal is not good." A small sea rashly rushed into the study, putong, and knelt down. Jiang Wu's heart leaped, and he had a kind of ominous premonition in his heart. If it's a big thing, say it quickly. If it's a small thing, you'll be punished for rashness. Little C realized his recklessness, but he didn't dare to say more. He quickly told the story about the grain shop and the arrest of Lu Yuanwei. Jiang Wu Jing's Teng ground for a while, then stood up, went forward to tightly grasp that small C's skirt, lifted his body up slightly. "What do you say?" The boy was so scared that his whole face turned white, and his forehead was dripping with cold sweat. However, he had to face bitterly and said, "My lord, the slave's words are true. I dare not deceive you." Jiang Wu's eyes crossed a touch of startled color and a bit of calculation. "Can you find out, Lu member outside? When I was arrested, I was tortured to extort a confession, but I vomited something I shouldn't vomit." The boy shook his head in confusion. "Lord Hui, the princess was alone with member Lu at that time, and many people were sent to guard outside. Our people couldn't get in at all and couldn't find out anything. A bunch of rubbish. What's the use of this official to support you?" In his anger, Jiang Wu threw the boy out and blushed. The boy fell to the ground and knelt down again quickly. He kept buttoning his head. I'll die, I'll forgive you." Jiang Wu's anger was not relieved, and he gave the boy a hard kick, which reduced his anger. He is full Mao gloomy stare at ponder for a while. "Just wait. That grain shop, what's the situation now?" Lord Hui, when the slave heard about it, the princess had already gone to the grain shop. It seems that the family who died made a lot of trouble. Jiang Wu sat back calmly, thinking. Although he got all the grain for Counselor Lu, he was sure that there was absolutely no problem with half of it, let alone being poisoned. But now there is such a scene, and Emo Shanghua doesn't know what evidence she has found to prove that if it is Lu Yuanwei who is really upset, Emo Shanghua must thoroughly investigate. In case she finds him here, she will be punished. Now the most important thing is that Lu member is still locked by the flowers on the street, and she doesn't know how much means she has. If she asks for something else, it will definitely be more troublesome. What about the current situation of the grain shop? Do you have someone to keep an eye on? Jiang Wu had a black face, and the anger in his eyes had all been suppressed. I've already sent someone to watch. The news I just got is that there's trouble in the grain shop. The princess has gone out of the palace to suppress it. The corner of Jiang Wu's lips stirred up a cruel smile, and his eyes were full of fierce color. He arranged several people to pass by and stop the flowers in the street. He could never let her come back in half an hour. Yes. He wiped the sweat on his forehead and seemed to be able to escape. Jiang Wu didn't care. He opened the dark room in the study and called 2 people who had been left by the man in black before, specially. And he called them near to hear the commandments, and gave them some commandments, and sent them down. Emo Shanghua, in accordance with the wording he had already thought about, symbolically performed with the people Qin Lin asked for, and the people's anger that they had deliberately provoked was quickly suppressed. The interpretation of the content is nothing more than the death of relatives and friends of the people, relatives and trouble. The woman will have found the suspects things to the public, calm the matter. In order to avoid people taking the opportunity to mix in and make trouble, we have arranged for dozens of people in front of us to have flowers on the street, all of them. However, after all, most of the people outside were watching the crowd. Jiang Wu's people couldn't get in front of him, so he yelled out, "Is that the only way to say it? It's a real life. One life is worth one life. Yes, we must not forget it. We must resist it." These words clearly spread into the ears of Emo Shanghua, but her eyes were half full of waves, and she looked at the people in front of her with a very calm face. "I said that when I came to confess to Counselor Lu, I would let him die. What's more, I would pay heavy compensation to the poisoned relatives. Is this not sincere enough?" She had long expected that someone would come to sabotage. Therefore, she not only made this arrangement, but also said hello to these people in front of her. They would cooperate. Sure enough, as her voice dropped, several people in the front row would come and help. "We are not unreasonable. The princess is willing to come out in person to receive is very sincere, and now the arrangement is so appropriate, we naturally have nothing to say. Yes, we'll just wait for me to hear." Those people seemed to be unwilling and immediately yelled, "How many days will it take to find out the real murderer? Who knows if you deliberately delay time and finally come to perfunctory?" In the flower eyes on the street, there are some slight waves. I lift my eyes to look at the speaker and see the sharp mouth of life. There are some calculations in my eyes, and I can't help but scratch a little sarcasm in my eyes. It turns out that people with a little mind are too easy to deal with. Is there no one in Jiang Wu's hands? Qin Ya's eyesight was excellent. She could see the mouth shape clearly. Then she sneered, "Brother, I look at your face. I don't think you are the relatives of the dead. This matter has nothing to do with you. How can you be more excited than your real relatives? Do you mean to ask for trouble?" Qin Ya. The flower on the street looks slightly sideways, like a lesson, but says the opposite. "I know our business is good, we usually provoke many enemies, but we have to leave some face. It seems safe, but let the face suddenly hold red." But the flowers on the street seemed to be unconscious, and the vermilion full lips continued to say, "However, what the elder brother said is also reasonable. I always want to give a definite time. Well, in the afternoon of 3 days, when you come to find me in the court set up in the city, I will surely find out the real murderer, bring him to justice, and give you justice." The crowd fell into discussion after discussion, but this time it turned to approval instead of denouncing. "The princess really knows the truth. We believe in you." The person who had arranged in advance should be in a hurry. A few people finished saying, "Still don't hope to greet the crowd around to disperse. Fortunately most are to see the lively, did not see the lively, then quickly dispersed." When the shop was clean, Mo Shanghua went into the shop again and told the shopkeeper to close the shop for a few days and other things that needed to be explained. And the man who just tried to deliberately delay time by making trouble got together and didn't know what he was discussing. After the discussion, only one person was left to wait, while the others ran to some small vendors and did not know what they had negotiated with the stall owners. It's only a short time for me to spend on it. After giving orders, I bring Chinya out and prepare to go back to the house as soon as possible. Those people's action is also fast. Before Mo Shanghua can get on the carriage, they deliberately make trouble. They not only come out from where, but also push a unicycle full of melons and fruits towards Mo Shanghua. Hua Yuguang had already seen everything before the carriage came near. He immediately turned his wrist, grasped Chinya's wrist tightly, and took her back several steps. Those people did not have time to finish, the unicycle still hid in the past, but it was not the flowers on the street, but the carriage on the side. The fruits and melons were scattered all over the ground, most of them fell into pieces. The carriage was hit hard and trembled heavily, and the axle behind it broke directly. Even the horse was frightened, and its front hooves raised abruptly and hissed. It was possible to rush out at any time. Chinya, go in and tell them to arrest all these people. The flowers on the street are beautiful, the cheeks are suddenly cold, and the eyes as calm as an ancient well are sharp as a blade. At this time, those people also reacted and ran quickly, afraid that they would be caught. Stop! Chinya was in a hurry. She didn't care to go in and call people first. Instead, she yelled at them and knocked them down. She was stunned for a moment and then ran around again. Chinya clenched her teeth and smashed the rotten fruit on her face towards the people close to her. Mo Shanghua didn't pay attention to the situation here. Instead, she rushed forward with a few arrow steps. With a slight click on her toes, she jumped onto the horse's back. The horse roared and wanted to throw her down, and the carriage behind her shook violently, as if it would shake and scatter at any time. The flower eyes on the street were full of awe. One hand held the reins tightly. After several turns on the palm, the other hand was released. A silver needle was tightly held between the fingers and the horse's head was pierced. Unexpectedly, the horse struggled too violently, and she pricked the needle slightly, which immediately led to the horse's more violent struggle and rushed out. Mo Shanghua's body is not stable, so he lies on the horse's back, and the people who have been hit on the street are tumbling. The willow eyebrows of flowers on the street were tightly twisted, and her hand holding the reins had a few red marks, but she didn't say a word. She calmly pulled out a silver needle and stabbed it again. The horse hissed again, but it was not as manic as before. Its hooves softened and fell to the ground. Mo Shanghua used a dagger to cut the reins long before the horse was about to fall and jumped down from the horse's back. The horse had just run a distance. For example, the people who just ran in this direction were faster. When she just landed, she saw that the people's steps stopped and then turned around again. Without frowning, they raised their hands and pinched a few silver needles. They came out from between their fingers. They screamed and ran to the ground, holding their legs in pain. Looking at Chinya's side, he also knocked down 2 people with fruit. Seeing that the flower in the street had settled the rest of them, he took the fruit in his hand and went back to call people with his skirt. After a while, he drove out with a group of guys and said in a loud voice, "Tie them up." Mo Shanghua walked over to Chinya and said in a light voice, "These people deliberately started the trouble first, and then deliberately murdered the princess. They tied them up and sent them to the court. Let the governor of Jiang come to trial himself." In this way, no doubt in the face of Jiang Wu. Yes. The shopkeeper who took the lead was busy. Mo Shanghua gently nodded and asked Chinya to deal with it. Then she left first. She was afraid that Jiang Wu's strategy would succeed later, so she went around the lane with few people and used her lightness skill to rush back quickly. When she rushed back to the sheriff's house, she saw that the gate of the courtyard where she lived was closed, and there were 2 bodyguards sent by Yan Beiqing at the gate. There was a faint sound of fighting in the courtyard, but the 2 were still standing coldly. See Mo Shanghua into, a few people will bow to salute, also don't say much, directly let open road release. Mo Xianghua was not shy when he saw this. He pushed the door quickly and went to the Chai Fang in a hurry. She thought that the fight should be fierce at this time, but when she arrived, she saw Yan Beiqing leisurely move a chair and sit on one side. In the Chai Fang, two masked men in black were fighting with Mo Ling. Mo Ling was obviously in the upper hand. He was able to deal with two people. It was Member Lu who was holding his head in both hands and shrinking in the corner. His face was pale, his body was shaking like chaff, his shoulders seemed to be injured, and most of his shoulders were red with blood. The princess is back. When Yan Beiqing saw the flowers coming back from the street, he gently lifted his thin lip and began to laugh in a low voice. Mo Xianghua turned her attention to Yan Beiqing again. She nodded her head with a light complexion. The princess said that if she had played enough, she would have played enough. Yan Beiqing replied with a smile, and then turned his eyes to Mo Ling. I just said, can you hear me? He clearly lips with a smile, but Mo Xianghua is clear in his eyes to see a clear cold, such as Millennium Ice General, cold without the slightest temperature, as if to human life indifference to the extreme. As soon as the voice fell, Mo Lingfang's loose attitude suddenly changed. His eyes were full of murders. As soon as he turned the blade in his hand, he picked up a long sword in the hand of a man in black. Then, he quickly took the initiative to attack. After a while, one of them was badly injured by Mo Ling, and the other was also seriously injured. However, he was a little clever. He took advantage of Mo Lingxing's time to capture the man and ran away. Seeing that the man in black fled, Mo Xianghua and Yan Beiqing did not move, even their eyebrows and eyes did not move. Don't chase me. Mo Ling wanted to chase, but Yan Beiqing was busy to stop. Always leave a message. Yes. Mo Ling should be can't help but also look down at the masked man in black who was firmly suppressed by himself. Lord, how do you want to deal with this man? If Mo Ling's eyes look at him like nothing, he can't help wondering what kind of terror Yan Beiqing's real strength will be. Yan Beiqing, as if not aware of her eyes, slightly restrained his lips and said with a smile, seal up the martial arts and tie them up, and transport them to the outskirts of the city together with the Lu member. By the way, take some medicine for Lu to avoid death. Yes, I'll do it right away. After bowing, Mo Ling took out a porcelain vase and handed it to Lu Guanwei for him to eat. As for the masked man in black, he is not afraid that he has half resistance when his acupoints are sealed. When did you build the secret passage, and where are you going to take these two bodies? The flowers on the street are full of doubts and can't help asking in a low voice. Yan Beiqing then stood up and avoided the problem in front of him and said, it's not good for these two men to be locked up with you after all. What's more important is that their role has been played. It's time to give them another place. He a pair of Mo Mao, inside Mao color is tiny deep, don't know what to think. Mo Xianghua saw that he didn't want to talk about it in detail, so he didn't ask. She walked around him and said, I have to arrange some things. Let's go back first. For the first time, Yan Beiqing didn't say much. He answered with a smile and went back alone. Mo Ling and several other bodyguards took several people down. From the beginning to the end, Mo Xianghua didn't think of going to interrogate the man in black. If he could be sent out to kill someone, he must be a dead man. Whether this man would commit suicide or not is a question. If he asked, he couldn't ask anything. Most importantly, she didn't want to get anything from the man in black, which had nothing to do with her plan. There was no need to worry about it. What she should do now is to continue her next step. Yan Beiqing just arrived at his secret contact place in Wujuan, and a secret guard came over with a letter box the size of his thumb and offered it with both hands. Lord, this is the letter from Nanha girl. Yan Beiqing's sharp and angular jaw gently pointed, raised his hand to take the letter box, took out the letter paper inside, and scanned it carefully. Most of the information in this envelope is about the recent situation in the palace. Only a few words behind it are vaguely mentioned. If you want to invite him back to Yuzhou, you can see that she is also a cautious person. However, the situation in Yuzhou, Yanbei City has its own arrangements for people to watch. South Crane, this is just some useless, obviously just want him to go back. Thinking of this, Yen Beiqing's deep eyes flashed a touch of impatience. He held the letter in his palm and shattered it with his internal force. Lord, do you want a reply? The Dark Way sees this. The voice that talks all becomes careful to get up, for fear that Yen North City can get angry. No need. Yen Beiqing's voice was cold, and his eyes were dark. If she comes to write again, she doesn't have to send it to me, let alone reply. It's almost well known that Nanha is in love with Yenbei City, but the attitude of the Lord Dark Way hearts silently for South Crane regretted some, but also dare not speak, busy whispered should and, yes. After a pause, he said, Lord, one more thing. The work of the Lin family is almost done. Now the 2 rooms and 3 rooms of the Lin family are not compatible. Well done. Yen North City don't know is to think of what, the Mao inside dark color tiny can't check of bright, casually praise a surprised Dark Way almost lost ceremony. Yen Beiqing, however, has no intention of avoiding it. He looks up at the dark sky outside the window, and the look in his eyes changes with it. It's deep and unpredictable, and it's hard to guess. After a long time, he got up, bypassed the dark guard and went to the inner room. I'll go to change clothes. You'll keep watching. When the time is ripe, you'll report. Yes. Sheriff, these maniacs first deliberately create trouble and then try to do harm to the princess. You must know what to do with those in the front and those in the back who murder the royal family. Qinya stands upright under the hall. The people beside her are all tied up and kneeling on the ground, and her face is covered with ashes. However, she seems not to hear it. Her eyes only stare at Jiang Wu sitting in the hall. Jiang Wu's hand, which placed the tabletop, could not help holding it tightly. He was very angry, but he did not dare to show his anger. He tried hard to suppress his anger. Then he said, Miss Qinya, this crime argument needs evidence. I don't know what evidence you have. Qinya had known Jiang Wuhui said so, so she raised her hand and pointed to the shopkeeper and the guys standing behind her. These are the human evidence. They have seen it with their own eyes, and so have I and the princess. The material evidence is also there. With that, the guys behind them raised the unicycle and put it on the hall. After a pause, she added with no smile, the princess is still waiting for her maidservant to return to her life. Please treat it fairly. Jiang Wu's face darkened a little, and his anger rose in his heart. He still had to say, since the human evidence is there, naturally it should be dealt with according to law. Please rest assured. Said, his eyes color-heavy looked to a few people under the stage. Come on, drag these people out, immediately push out to behead. After hearing this, those people immediately cried and cried for Jiang Wu's forgiveness. Some people even nearly told Jiang Wu that it was Jiang Wu who was behind the scenes. Jiang Wu was surprised and asked people to cover their mouths and drag them down. Qinya saw clearly the mouth shape of the man who let slip, but she didn't seem to hear it. She laughed politely. The princess must be very satisfied with the justice that the sheriff dealt with. I'll go back and take my leave. After she was blessed, she left with all the people in the grain shop. Jiang Wu's face was very blue. He didn't dare to show it until he was far away. He raised the startled wood and patted it heavily on the table. A particularly loud voice sounded, which made all the yamen servants tremble, and then he retreated. Waste, it's all waste. The tendons on Jiang Wu's forehead burst up, and his beard trembled slightly with anger. Even if this little thing can't be done well, all of them are arrested. They are also caught by the little slut of the flower in the street. They deliberately send it to humiliate him. Just when he was angry, a steward next to him came up and spoke in a very weak voice, for fear of burning himself. My lord, go, the person who went to work is back, waiting for you in the back hall. Jiang Wu's eyebrows can't help but jump. He has a bad premonition. He quickly steps away from the steward. Just around to the back hall, he saw a man in black kneeling on the ground. The black veil on his face had been taken off. His face was a bit painful, his mouth was bloody, and his chest was tightly covered with one hand. Why did you come back alone? Jiang Wu walked quickly to the man in black and frowned. Lord Hui, his subordinates didn't work hard. He was captured alive. His subordinates tried their best to escape. Jiang Wu was so impatient that he could not help but put his foot on the chest of the man in black. You've been doing more and more work recently. You can't do such a small thing well. Even let life catch you if that person can't stand the torture to extort a confession. Doesn't he have another handle in the hands of Mo Shanghua? The man in black was already injured. When he got down, his blood gushed out and nearly fainted. What's useless, get out of here. The more Jiang Wu saw this, the more exuberant the anger in his heart, and he couldn't help shouting again. The man in black just covered his chest and stumbled down. Although Jiang Wu was angry, he didn't dare to delay any time, so he called the steward to come over quickly. Now you go to arrange a few people and keep an eye on the princess you. If there is any change, you can report it quickly. If you can't do it well, you will come to see him. Yes. The steward was busy and answered with fear. After ordering this matter, Jiang Wu put his hands behind him and walked anxiously in the room. At this time, he just thought of the most important question: what did Mo Shanghua do? Why did he send the two masters to be wounded and captured all his life? Thinking of this, he could not help but call the man in black in again and ask carefully. The man in black was busy telling the truth one by one. What? The words of the man in black made Jiang Wu stunned, and his eyes were full of shock. What did Yan Beicheng look like in Yuzhou for so many years? Even the powerful people in the imperial city knew it. How could he suddenly have so many experts around him? Has he been pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger for so many years? He had to report it immediately, and he had to think about all the current affairs carefully again. The more he thought about it, the more frightened he was. He quickly got up and called credible people to send them out in two groups. He wrote the story of Yan Beicheng playing a pig and eating a tiger in a secret newspaper and ordered them to send it to him as soon as possible. After finishing this, Jiang Wu was still a little uneasy and always felt that something would happen. Then he opened the darkroom and went around to one side of the darkroom and the other side of the wall. After beating for a while, he took a piece of blue stone brick from it and took out the wooden box inside. He opened it and found that dozens of accounts were still in good condition. He was relieved and put the things back. At night, the flowers on the street are dressed in black night clothes. No matter how they move in the dark, they can hide well in the dark. In addition to their light posture, even the night guards are not aware of it. With Zhu Fan's martial arts, she easily touched Jiang Wu's study. At that time, the study was deserted and the room was dark. Mo Shanghua is a martial arts practitioner. He is dark all around. He can also see at night and closed the door of his study. Then she took a celadone teacup, took off the tea cover, and put the cup upside down on the wooden door. In this way, if someone came, she would find out in time. After all this, the flowers on the street will quickly search inside the house. She did not go to rummage, but focus on the wall, desktop items, obviously not for some simple things. After a while, she fixed her eyes on the inkstone on the desk. Night vision can only see some basic things, but the details of such small objects are still unclear. I just want to open a folder and take it up for a closer look. This inkstone is nothing if you look at it carefully. It's regular in shape and exquisite in carving. There's nothing different about it. However, after turning the inkstone over, you can see that there is a thumb size and nail length bulge under the inkstone which should be flat. The flower eyes on the street turned pale. He took the fire fold to the desk where he had just picked up the inkstone. But he saw that the desk was flat and there was no difference. He put the inkstone on the desk, and the inkstone fell steadily on the desk, without any sense of injustice caused by the bulge. Mo Shanghua squatted down in his hand, and he couldn't help drooping his eyes. Then his eyes flashed slightly, as if he thought of something, and he tried to turn by pressing the inkstone directly. When she found that the inkstone could be rotated, her ancient well pupil was slightly bright, so she was busy with her time and continued to rotate according to the law. Fortunately, this rule is easy to find. She found it without much effort. With the third rotation of the inkstone, the sandalwood bookshelf placed behind the bookcase clicks and moves slowly to both sides, revealing a dark corridor. The flower on the street gazed into the corridor, thought about it, and then walked in. Different from what she thought, there was no secret arrow in the corridor. She went to the dark room easily. The dark room was isolated from the world, so she didn't have to worry too much about being discovered. She simply took a fire fold and lit the candlestick beside her. Before the origami could touch the wick, a sharp palm wind suddenly came from her side and directly flew the origami in her hand. Emo Shanghua's heart leaps. She has no time to think too much. She quickly steps back. Su Shou has already touched the dagger on her waist. Before she can pull it out, a black human silhouette sweeps her eyes, and the palm wind cuts her shoulder blades. On the other hand, he pulled out the dagger in his hand and blocked it with the dagger in his hand. However, the man did not play cards according to the common sense. His action did not stop at all. He bypassed the dagger blade and split his hand on her wrist. When she had a pain in her wrist, the dagger couldn't fall off. The man in black took the dagger in an instant with his other hand. Before the flower on the street could dodge, the dagger was already across her delicate neck. The edge of killing intention is close to the neck. Emo Shanghua's whole body moves slowly, and his brain runs fast. A plan suddenly appears in his heart. He says, "Who are you? Dare you rush into the prefecture at night?" Speaking, she has quietly pinched a few silver needles between her slender white fingers, and the cold light in her eyes flickers. The man was stunned when he heard his voice, and then sneered. He took back the dagger and turned to light the candlestick. It's a coincidence. Candlelight would have been unable to see the dark room lit up. In front of the eye is the Cape Man. He only exposed the sharp corners of the mandible, thin lips slightly pursed, but his eyes were tightly staring at the flowers on the street. Emo Shanghua is also stunned. She knows that the person in front of her is Yanbei City, but now is not the time to tear it down. The most important thing now is the purpose of Yan Beiqing's coming here. If they have the same purpose, it's easy to say, but if there is a conflict of interest, however, in a short period of time, many of these ideas have been turned around in the flower heart. What is your purpose? Yan Beiqing's eyes swept over her vigilant eyes, and the deep phoenix's eyes lightly scratched a dark color. Then, without hesitation, he took out the wooden box he had taken out and threw it. I have the same purpose with you. No matter who you or I have, it's a function. Now that you're here, it'll save me trouble. Take it well. Emo Shanghua took it, opened the wooden box, and saw that it was really what he was looking for. Then he simply said, "Thank you very much." The cloak man did not speak, but raised his hand to put out the candlestick and turned away. Presumably, this is the real character of Yanbei City. It's not pleasant to talk and it's uncertain. Emo Shanghua looks at the darkened room again. Her heart moves. She can't help but recite a sentence in her heart. She just leaves with a wooden box in her arms. Just out of the dark room, a sharp arrow suddenly shot at her. Her eyes suddenly solidified. Before she could dodge, she should have left long ago. Yan Beiqing came out of nowhere, grabbed her soft waist, took her to her arms, and the sharp arrow brushed her ears. Emo Shanghua was leaning against Yan Beiqing's arms. As soon as she lifted her eyes, she could see his face hidden under his cloak, but the broad cloak still covered his upper cheek in the dark. She could only see a pair of phoenix eyes which were also very deep in the dark. And the master of this double-eye Mao at this time is fixed to stare at her. For a long time, his thin lip just light open, hit a trick. Emo Shanghua then reacted and pushed Yan Beiqing away. She stood up straight and looked at the window. Through the thin window paper of the study, you can see that the outside is already brightly lit, surrounded by dark shadows holding torches. Jiang Wu was also a cruel character and set up a trap. It seems that those accounts must be of great importance to him. As soon as the flowers in the street thought about it, dozens of sharp arrows suddenly burst through the window paper and shot into the room. Then, Jiang Wu's voice was harsh and hoarse. "Toast, don't eat or drink. Since you don't want to be arrested, don't blame my officers for being merciless." When Yan Beiqing saw this, he raised his hand and took Emo Shanhua's hand. He took her to the front of the bookcase. Then he let go of her hand and took a piece of rice paper. With rice paper as a shield, he stood in front of them and rotated quickly. The thin xian paper turned out to be like a real duanjia, blocking all the sharp arrows. Open the darkroom door. Yen Beicheng's voice was low and steady, and he could not hear the slightest sense of panic. Good. Mo Shanghua is also calm and self-sustaining. He bends over to touch the inkstone on the desk, turns the balcony according to the law, moves the bookshelves away slowly, and reopens the darkroom. Go, Mo Shanghua shouts softly. Yen Beicheng's cold chin nods slightly. Then he throws the rice paper in his hand and smashes the bookcase in front of him. He just pulls Mo Shanghua into the darkroom. Once in the darkroom, everything in the study is isolated. They did not go in, but stood in front of the blue stone gate blocking the door, listening carefully to the movement outside. Only a wall apart, two people standing here can still listen to a general. They make such a big noise in the house. Jiang Wu feels uneasy outside. He asks people to stop and break in. When he saw the situation in the house, his face suddenly darkened, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Good thief, how dare you destroy my secret way? Even so, I might as well tell you that the account book in the darkroom is fake. How can you find the real official easily? It's useless for you to take it out today." The flower willow eyebrows on the street suddenly frowned. He opened the wooden box which he had been holding tightly with his hands, took out a book, lit a fire fold, and opened it. Don't look. It's true. Yen North City Mao light indifferently swept on her face. Wei, Jiang Wu pretends to be smart. Under the dark grid there is another interlayer, above is false, and I take is true. The flowers in the street smell the words, still can't help but droop their heads and have a close look at the account book. The pages of the book turn yellow, and the records of every account are extremely detailed, which is really no doubt. Jiang Wu is really in a bind. The flowers on the street, with a touch of light color, close the wooden box again. Listen, if you don't come out again, I'll set fire here. There's no other way out in this dark room. If you don't come out, you'll have to die here. It was quiet outside. After a while, Jiang Wu's voice came in again. Ignore him. Yen Beicheng turned a deaf ear to Jiang Wu's words and walked towards the dark room. There must be another exit in the dark room. He won't leave a way for himself. Mo Shanghua naturally thought of this layer, and then nodded his head and went with him to the interior of the darkroom. Yen Beicheng lit the candlestick and began to search in the house. Although the matter is urgent, his actions are calm and orderly. Mo Shanghua put down the wooden box for the time being, and took down another candlestick from the wall, holding it to light up and observing it carefully in the room. The setting points of secret organs like this are nothing more than some old-fashioned places. The flowers on the street first fumbled for the bolt, and then fumbled on the wall after finding nothing unusual. The dark room is underground. It's dark everywhere. Even if I light the candlestick, I still can't see it clearly. The flowers on the street grope for a long time, and then they find a different bluestone brick. She just pressed down hard and the bluestone brick sagged in. Kacha, on one side of the wall, a door for one person to go in and out is slowly opened. Inside the door is a dark corridor. Mo Shanghua and Yen Beicheng both look at each other, as if they have a soul in their heart. Even if they understand each other's thoughts, they go out along the corridor together. Jiang Wu showed off his power for a long time, but no one answered. He was reluctant to burn down his study. He just ordered someone to remove the bookshelves, break the entrance of the darkroom, and then lead someone to break in. But when he came in, there was no one in the dark room, and the only way to escape was not closed. Jiang Wu's face was as black as the bottom of the pot, and the veins on his forehead couldn't help jumping up. The steward hesitated for a long time, and then cautiously suggested, "My lord, this secret road leads to the outside of the city, and Princess Yu has peerless martial arts skills. If it were her, they would not come back now. Do you want to have a look now?" Fool! Jiang Wu was just in the middle of his anger. At this time, he was extremely stupid to listen to the steward saying, "The inside information of King Yu's staff is unfathomable. Why should she come out in person? If she went at this time, she would disturb the woman and seize the opportunity to make use of it. Would you be responsible?" The steward was scolded and did not dare to refute. He quickly lowered his head and did not dare to say more. Get out of here. Jiang Wu opened his mouth calmly. How dare they say so much? They all backed down. Jiang Wu sees that everyone walks in, finds the dark grid mechanism and opens the dark grid. He was relieved to see that the wooden boxes in the dark grid were missing, and the wooden boxes in the underground interlayer were intact. Sure enough, the most dangerous place is the safest place. It seems that he didn't lose much today. At least he cheated Yu Wang and his wife. In this way, they should not come here for the second time. As everyone knows, the real account has already been taken away, and the one left here is fake. Out of such a thing, Jiang Wu thought Mo Shanghua would make some big noise these days. But I didn't expect that for 2 days in a row, there was no change in the flowers on the street, but she didn't go to the suburbs to see the grain as usual. In these days she was almost closed. The people sent by Jiang Wu couldn't monitor the affairs in the flower yard. What they could vaguely hear was that Counselor Lu Wai really seemed to have been tortured to extort a confession, but he was hard-mouthed and refused to tell the truth. After 2 days of peace, Jiang Wu couldn't bear it. He went to the courtyard where the flowers were. He sat in the position of the next head. Although his face was as usual, there was a bit of sadness hidden at the bottom of his eyes. Mo Shanghua quietly put the look at the bottom of his eyes into his eyes, and the sudden opening broke the silence in the house. Isn't Sheriff Jiang busy with business? How can he come to me now? What's the matter? Seemingly unintentional words, but poked in Jiang Wu's mind, he pondered for a while, then said with a smile, Princess, wear words, micro-minister, although business entangled, but also dare not slack your things. My business? Is there something wrong with Sheriff Jiang? What can I do for you? Mo Shanghua put down the teacup in his hand, his face puzzled. Jiang Wu, with a polite smile on his face, explained, I heard that Counselor Lu Wai, who had made trouble in the grain shop before, has committed something recently, which has made you very anxious. I don't know what the matter is. Speaking of this, I have a headache. It seems that Mo Shanghua didn't see Jiang Wu's deliberate exploration and naturally explained that Counselor Lu is really restless outside. Although he sent the grain on time, the rest grain looks very good, but inside he quietly poisoned, harming many people. A few days ago, the people gathered in front of the grain shop to make trouble. I think the Governor Jiang also heard about it. Jiang Wu nodded and said, I've heard something from you, but I heard that you promised the people to find out in 3 days. Today is the 2nd day. What's the matter with you, Princess? The flower on the street gently hooked his lips, and his eyes were tinged with the color of a certain potential. Although Lu Yuan's mouth is hard outside, it can't resist the water like instruments of torture after all. The person I sent back said that he was already writing the crime, and now there is only a lack of evidence. However, this is also a simple thing, and I will find it in a few days. No one can see that the bottom of her eyes, as deep as an ancient well, was a little chilly. It's a matter of great importance. I'm sure the princess will thoroughly investigate it. What a fuss! Jiang Wu scolded secretly in his heart, but on his face he looked like he wanted to talk and stop talking. After pondering for a long time, he just said, I have a word to say. I don't know if I should say it or not. Whether or not to say, the Governor Jiang weighed in his heart. Mo Shanghua raised her hand to the table, and her voice was cold and indifferent. In that case, I'm afraid. Jiang Wu choked, pondered for a while, or opened his mouth. The princess is a guest to Wujuan. Wei Chen, as a magistrate of Wujuan, should take good care of. Now such a thing, it's true, should not let the princess in trouble, Wei Chen thought. The princess would like to leave this matter to Wei Chen. You also recuperate. Huang Bai's fingertips stopped and her eyes turned pale. The princess has made a promise about this. The Governor Jiang said at this time. Do you want to take credit, or do you want the princess to make a slip of the tongue in front of the common people and trap me in injustice? I dare not. Jiang Wu knelt down, buried his head down and covered his eyes. I'm just worried that the princess is too tired recently. What's more, this place happened in Wujuan, which should be my duty. The delicate cheek that spent palm big on the mo suddenly cold come down, Voice tiny sink. Originally Jiang Jun's show is to blame me to overstep. I don't mean that. Jiang Wu buried his head lower and secretly scolded himself for being too anxious and nearly out of proportion. Mo Shanghua got up and walked up to Jiang Wu. His voice was indifferent. What do you mean just now? Jiang Wu felt a headache. He thought about it for a long time and then said, the princess is really misunderstood. What I have said is that everything is just out of concern for your body. There is no malice. Now, before the flowers on the street opened their mouth, Qinya stepped forward and said, Governor Jiang, is this our princess's kindness as a donkey's liver and lung? Jiang Wu Qin Lin, who was on the other side, and the maids couldn't help laughing. They lowered their heads for fear of being blamed. Indifferent as flowers on the street, the corner of the lip can't help but lightly hook a few minutes, and in a moment, it's collected again, and the light way, well, I know what you mean. In fact, if you want to share my worries, you can. Well, when I find out the evidence and convict myself, I will invite you to come and negotiate with me. It's different from not saying it. Jiang Wu sighed in his heart. Thinking of the two people's eloquence, he didn't dare to fight for more, so he bent over to thank them. Yes, thank you, princess. Get up. The flower on the street is delicate and gentle, turns around and sits back again. Jiang Wu got up in accordance with his words and said, in that case, I will go back to deal with the government affairs first and leave. Seeing that Jiang Wu had gone far away, Qinya couldn't help laughing. Princess, it's really funny that you didn't see the way Jiang Jun's defense just ate the shriveled. The flower eyes on the street once crossed a few points of smile, but the complexion is still condensation. Your recent courage is really more and more big, even Jiang Wu dares to talk back. Seeing this, Qin Lin came forward with a smile and rubbed Qinya's head. Qinya spat out her tongue. She wanted to continue to say something. A guard outside the door rushed in and knelt down. Princess, it's not good. Counselor Lu committed suicide, and the man in black died because of his heavy injury. The smile in the flower's eyes on the street immediately disappeared, and her face was slightly coagulated. Have you seen it? Confirm the cause of death? Qinya and Qin Lin looked at each other with a solemn smile. All the corpses have been examined, and the cause of death is correct. The bodyguard answered respectfully. The willow eyebrows of the flowers on the street frowned slightly, and the eyes are stained with a bit of worry. As soon as the two men died, she was afraid that she would lose some chips. In this way, the chance of winning would be small. Just when he was thinking about it, Yan Beicheng strode in. He looked at the bodyguard kneeling in the hall. He knew what it was, so he waved his hand and let people go first. You know that? Mo Shanghua saw Yan Beicheng come in and asked casually. Yan North City nodded. The words in the mouth is not very serious. I'm afraid that this matter will strike you too hard. I can't think of it for a moment, so I'll come and have a look. After all, he is their serious master. There is nothing wrong with being the first to inform him when something happens. It's just a little more trouble, not so much. Mo Shangflower lifted Mao to stare at him, one eye. Don't have the openings of good spirit. Yan Beicheng chuckled without any worry on his face, as if it had nothing to do with him. So, I can rest assured. It's just, what are you going to do next? Mo Shanghua was silent, and she closed her eyes. Her long eyelashes covered her eyes like a fan, casting a light shadow on her eyelids. Yan Beicheng's lips were slightly curved, and his fingertips moved. He felt an impulse to touch them. As soon as his fingertips moved, he quickly folded his fingers into fists and began to laugh again, as if he had deliberately covered them up. Mo Shanghua didn't answer. After thinking for a long time, she raised her head again. Since people are here, as long as we block the news, who will know? Yan Beicheng naturally thought of this layer, but he pretended to be puzzled. But what should I do if Lu can't come out? It's a simple matter. Mo Shanghua's face is calm, and he is confident. There is no such thing, so there is only one way left. Although she didn't say it clearly, Yan Beicheng saw her look and realized it. He couldn't help laughing. If the princess is really as intelligent as the king, she deserves to be the princess of the king. Emo Shanghua's eyes were not smiling and swept around Yan Beiqing's body, leaving behind a sentence without end. If I really talk about intelligence, I'm afraid I'm not as good as you in any case. As soon as these words came out, Yan Beiqing was shocked. Emo Shanghua looks at him with penetrating eyes, as if he wants to see through the whole person. At that moment, Yan Beiqing almost thought that Emo Shanghua had seen through his identity. However, even so, his deep pupil is still a deep and deep color. The flowers on the street have been staring at him for a long time, but they can't see anything from it. For a long time, in the end, flowers are defeated. She looked away, her tone returned to the usual calm. What I discussed with you yesterday, how are you prepared there? Of course, the king's hands and feet are extremely sharp. I've been ready for a long time. Yan Beiqing sat on the side of the flower on the street, with a habitual flying look at the corner of his eyes and eyebrows. Emo Shanghua nodded, ruddy full lips slowly enunciation. Good, next is the end. At night, Jiang Wu had just had dinner. Before he had time to rest, he rushed in and told him, I'm sorry, Princess Yu is coming. It's so late. I'm here now. Isn't it? Jiang Wu heart a jump, subconsciously then hands tightly clench a fist. Can know what happened? The boy shook his head blankly without knowing it. Bring people in. Seeing this, Jiang Wu didn't ask much. Little C should be next, not long, then took Qinya to walk in. Qinya didn't come alone, but was followed by dozens of bodyguards, each with a calm breath and a bad look. Qinya's whole body is not half angry. He salutes Jiang Wufu respectfully. See the sheriff. No gift. Jiang Wu waved his hand. After Qinya got up, he asked, It's getting late. I don't know why your princess called you here so late at night. The princess only said that she would ask you to come to Qinghuan Pavilion outside the mansion. She didn't say much about it. I don't know what it is. Qinya's eyes look at his nose at his heart, and answers with neither humble nor overbearing. This little girl has such sharp teeth and sharp mouth. It's really a disaster that she didn't get rid of last time. Jiang Wu scolded in his heart, but he laughed on his face. He walked up to Qinya and put a bulging purse in front of Qinya. Miss Qin, I think the hairpin on your head seems to be old. Take it and buy some new jewelry. You should dress up respectably. Qinya sneered in her heart and stepped back to avoid Jiang Wu's hand. My life is cheap and I can't wear such a good thing. Please go with me as soon as possible. I can't afford to delay the time. Such a tough attitude must be premeditated. Jiang Wu's eyes crossed a dark color, and he swept the dozens of bodyguards behind Qinya quietly, thinking about the pros and cons of this. Think about it, my lord. Time doesn't wait. Qinya's crisp and sweet voice sounded like a life-threatening charm, which made Jiang Wu make a decision. He raised his head and began to smile at Qinya, with a kind of flattery on his face. The official just thought of something which delayed him. I'm sorry, girl. Let's go now. Being so flattered, Qinya is still not arrogant and impetuous. She takes a step to the side and lets her way out. Please, my lord. Jiang Wu didn't immediately step forward, but looked back at a steward who had been standing behind him, and his eyes crossed with some unknown color. The steward responded quickly and nodded his head. Jiang Wu turned his head at ease and walked forward with great cooperation. He looked as if he didn't know that there was a grand banquet in front of him. Although Qinya's eyelids are slightly lowered, she has been quietly observing Jiang Wu. As a result, she takes all the small movements of people into her eyes, but she just doesn't see them. She follows behind and walks up. Dozens of bodyguards turn the rear team into the front team and follow them. Jiang Wu was very peaceful at first. I didn't ask much about it all the way, but when he came to an empty alley on the way, he suddenly stopped. Seeing this, Qinya stopped. My lord, why did you stop? I just want to ask the girl one last time. The corner of Jiang Wu's mouth is intriguing, and the look in his eyes is more mysterious in the dark. As soon as the words came to an end, the originally silent and dark alley suddenly heard the sound of chaotic footsteps. Not long later, they saw that both the front and back had been blocked by two groups of soldiers. The torches in their hands made the lights in the alley bright. It was as bright as the warm sun, but it made people feel cold for no reason. Although Qinya was ready, she was frightened by the situation. She pinched the tender meat on the back of her hand and forced herself to calm down. "What do you mean, my lord?" Qinya's face is stiff and cold, and her words are hard to pronounce. Jiang Wu's smile widened, but his face suddenly sank. "I just said once. What's the intention of Princess Yu's sending you to invite me to Qinghuan Pavilion? What's the relationship between her and the Lord of Qinghuan Pavilion?" Today's event is clearly that Mo Shanghua deliberately set up the situation, and the bold place is set up in Qinghuan Pavilion. It's all right to make a little fuss, but isn't that place where people dare to make a fool of themselves? If it doesn't matter, he doesn't believe it. "I'm just a servant. I can't understand your words." Qin Yaqiang's calm cheek cracked a little flustered, still biting his teeth to open his mouth. Jiang Wu glanced at the steward who had just stood aside. There was a cruel color in his eyes. The steward immediately came over, took out a dagger and put it across Qinya's neck. "Girl, the sword doesn't have eyes. You'd better cooperate well," said, dagger toward her delicate neck close to an inch. Cold dagger immediately pasted on her neck skin. The palm of Qinya's hand suddenly pinched tightly, and her body trembled slightly, as if she was afraid to the extreme. "Girl, think for yourself, which is more important, your life or this matter?" The manager's voice continued to ring in Qinya's ear like a magic spell. Qinya clenched her lower lip, closed her eyes, and kept shaking. After a long time, she breathed deeply, and her voice was very shallow and weak. Lu said everything outside. The princess and the lord of Qinghuan Pavilion are just cooperative relations. He asked you to go because he wanted to take in the net. How many people did she ambush? Jiang Wu was not surprised. He asked quickly. She thought you would only come alone, so there were only 20 or 30 people in all. Qinya is not trying to support her. Instead, she spits out what she knows, but nobody pays attention to it. She still holds it tightly in her palm. Jiang Wu immediately sneered, his face covered with a layer of disdain. The whole Wujuan is under my control. With her strength, she still wants to punish me. It's really funny. With that, his eyes fell on Qinya again, and the dark color in his eyes all showed. I just said, you should understand. Originally, I didn't intend to save your life, but I suddenly changed my mind. I can live for you, but you have to listen to me, do you understand? This is the right hand of Mo Shanghua. It's very useful to keep it. He will never let it go easily. Qinya's face was a bit of a struggle, hesitated for a long time, and then she clenched her teeth and nodded. As long as I can live, I will listen to you. That's the way to know the current affairs. Jiang Wu nodded with satisfaction, then turned his eyes to the guards who had been captured behind Qinya, and told the steward, lock these people up for the time being. You are ordering some good martial arts, put on their clothes, and then. His face sank down. A bit of een and evil did not hide the flow from the face, straight at the heart of the cold. But he let the manager listen to him as if nothing had happened. The steward hastened up. Seeing the two people's attention shifted, Qinya's grip on the palm of her hand was released. The cool air came, and her palm was cold. Then she found that her palm was already full of sweat. Princess, here comes Mr. Jiang. Qinya bowed down to the flowers and opened her mouth in a soft voice. Mo Shanghua's sight and Qinya didn't meet for a moment, but directly fell on Jiang Wu's body. His voice was as usual, indifferent and clear. Now that Jiang Junsho has come, just sit down. As for the bodyguards behind Jiang Wu, as soon as they came in, they stood quietly in the elegant pavilion, forming a situation of encirclement. The flowers on the street seem to be imperceptible, and the waves in the eyes are not rising. Jiang Wu didn't show any flaws on his face. He said thanks with a smile, and then sat down opposite the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua then pushed a small stack of confessions on the table to Jiang Wu. This is Lu Yuanwai's confession, which involves a lot. I hope that after seeing it, the Princess Jiang can give a suitable reason. Jiang Wu took the confession to himself and looked at it without much concern. However, the content inside made him look slightly changed. He thought that even if Counselor Lu said it, he couldn't really tell all the transactions between them. However, he didn't expect that all the details of the crime were clearly written. This made him more or less uncontrollable and a little angry. He wanted to find out Counselor Lu and kill him. Mo Shanghua looked at his face changing little by little, and his lips moved. Why doesn't Jiang Junshou talk? But what's the problem? Jiang Wu then passed away. He held these pages of accusations in his hand and said with a smile, "If my official says that none of these cases are true, can the princess be trusted?" There was a deep gloomy color in his eyes, and he looked at the beautiful cheek of the flower on the street as if he had a clear conscience. Around is so staring at Mo Hua Mao Guang is still as deep and quiet as an ancient well, for a long time, just a little waves, but the cage is a bit light ridicule. I promise the people will produce results in 3 days, tomorrow will be the 3rd day, since the results have been, why don't I believe it? After a pause, her voice suddenly turned, like a thin ice. More importantly, I'm afraid that the above things are only written less, corruption and bribery, careless about people's lives, depending on the emperors far away, they commit crimes in the area of Wujuan, but the governor Jiang said, you can be wronged half a point. Jiang Wufei, however, did not panic. Instead, he began to laugh, mixed with some sarcasm. I don't know that the princess is so good at making up stories. I'm afraid it's not that she has read too much drama. She's confused and can't tell the truth. Without moving his eyebrows, he slowly took out a wooden box from under the table, took out the account book, and spread it out in front of Jiang Wu. I'm not too confused, at least I know these things. They are all interesting. Jiang Junshou might as well have a look? Jiang Wu's eyes were more ironic. He glanced at the accounts casually. If I remember well, I lost all these things yesterday. How come they are in the hands of the princess now? It's hard for the princess to like the activities of the snitch. I don't know when Governor Jiang will learn to be like a gossip. Mo Shanghua's face was calm and could not see any anger. Besides, no matter how this thing came, it's really interesting. It's better for Sheriff Jiang to have a look. Jiang Wu's face darkened a little. After listening to what he said, he still had a little disdain in his heart, but he took a copy and read it at will. It's not the time to argue with this woman. She will look good later. However, his face suddenly changed in the middle of his thoughts. He immediately pinched the account tightly, looked at several pages quickly and carefully, and then took up the remaining books one by one in disbelief. Well, how is that possible? Jiang Wu Ting stood up and looked shocked. Mo Shanghua took no time to put away the messy accounts he made, and red lips gently opened. I forgot to tell you, what's in your dark room is fake. Now, the evidence is solid. Jiang Wu's face was very blue. After thinking about it for a long time, he found out the reason. He could not help biting his teeth. What can a simple account book tell us? Besides Lu, he had a bad heart before, and his words can't be believed. What if they came to kill people other than Member Lu? The flowers on the street are slightly picked, and a touch of light and mocking color is revealed. Qin Ya hung her head and did not move. Qin Lin didn't ask any more questions, but he answered quickly. After a while, he came back, followed by 4 bodyguards, 1 for each. If you look carefully, one is the masked man in black who took off the mask, and the other is Lu Yuan. Their clothes are in tatters, and they are stained with blood. They all look very embarrassed. Jiang Wu's eyebrows jumped. Before he could speak, the flower on the street over there said in a clear voice, "Why do you want to kill Member Lu?" The man in black seemed to have learned from the heavy torture tools. After hearing the words, he said in a low voice, "I'm from Master Zhang's secret guard camp." "Yes, I'm from Master Zhang's order to assassinate Member Lu." Then he took out a token from his sleeve and gave it to Qin Lin. "This is the token of the Dark Guard camp." Qin Lin took the token, turned around and presented it to Mo Shanghua. Mo Shangflower Mao Light indifferently swept that token and nodded to the opposite Jiang Wu. Qin Lin comes over and puts the token in front of Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu's face was not too shocked and stiff. On the contrary, it was more and more dark, as if he was extremely angry. Although he was psychologically prepared, how could he not be angry when the people under his command betrayed him so easily because they could not stand torture? Seeing this, Member Lu knelt forward 2 steps at this time and said sadly, "Princess, if what the grass people say is false, how can Mr. Jiang send someone to kill the grass people? The grass people really dare not lie." Mo Shanghua looked sideways at Jiang Wu, full of vermilion lips and gently picks. "This time, you have nothing to deny." Jiang Wu had guessed that there would be such a situation for a long time. He raised his eyes and looked at the guards in the 4 directions. He simply put on his lips and sneered, "It's clearly the situation set up by the princess. Even if I say something at this time, what can I do? It's really useless." Mo Shanghua nodded his head sincerely and raised his hand to the table like boredom. The Son of Heaven is guilty of the same crime as the common people. Now that the Governor Jiang has admitted it, the princess has nothing to hide. Let me think about it: corruption, recklessness, murder of the royal family, combined punishment for several crimes. It seems that it's for the 9 ethnic groups. Her eyes flickered a little carelessly, as if to say an unimportant fact. It was this attitude that aroused Jiang Wu's anger and fear. He stood up abruptly and said, "What does the princess mean? Or is all that the princess has done today to deliberately force me to rebel?" It seems that Sheriff Jiang is not too dull. Mo Shanghua raised her eyelids lightly, and the color of sarcasm in her eyes became stronger and stronger. "Why, isn't Governor Jiang prepared?" Her eyes were as straight as the ice blade, as if she could penetrate everything, which made Jiang Wu's heart jump. There was a bad premonition. However, the premonition just flashed away. Then he couldn't help sneering. He just felt that the flowers on the street couldn't turn out big waves. They were just pretending to be powerful. "You forced me to do this." Jiang Wu's face was so cruel that he didn't cover it up at all. The voice just fell. The bodyguards, who were wearing the bodyguard clothes of King Yu's mansion, drew their swords from their waists one after another and made a state of attack. In a moment, they surrounded the whole room. At the same time, the sound of the piano and flute playing outside the box suddenly stopped and was replaced by the disorderly and noisy sound of footsteps. Jiang Wu's steward came in at this time, approached Jiang Wu's side and said, "Tell me, the city gate has been blocked, and Qinghuan Pavilion has been surrounded." "Well done." Jiang Wu was in a good mood, and his eyebrows and eyes were flowing with a little satisfaction. "Princess, now the whole Wujuan County is full of my official people. How, do you still want to treat my officials crime?" In the eyes of Hua Qingling in the street, it is still a quiet space, and the waves are not rising, as if the things in front of him have nothing to do with him. The crime that should be dealt with naturally needs to be dealt with, but now there is one more crime. The following crimes are treason and rebellion. Her red lips are as full as petals, and her voice is as clear and calm as a human being. "It's all this time and you're still talking hard." Jiang Wu sneered and said, "By the way, I forgot to tell you. The little girl around you just joined me. Now you are really helpless. I advise you to know the current affairs." Mo Shanghua just glanced at Qinya, but Qinya lowered her head and didn't lift it up. Jiang Wu saw that, and the color of satisfaction between her eyebrows became more and more intense. Mo Shanghua doesn't question Qinya, but calmly stares at Jiang Wu for a long time. Then she suddenly raises her lips and smiles coldly. "Do you really think I'm alone? I'm afraid you've forgotten that I'm in Wujuan with you, and I'm his princess." "With him?" Jiang Wu sneered and said with disdain, "The so-called strong dragon doesn't suppress the local snake is that the waste firewood used to be disguised. So what? In Wujuan, I'm the heaven here. No one can turn up a splash." As he spoke, his eyebrows and eyes were full of self-confidence, and he looked like he had no fear. "In charge, you can tell him what happened to the wastewood now." The steward smiles and flatters, "Lord Hui, the slave has been sent." Bang! Before the end of the speech, the closed box door suddenly smashed in a yamen servant. Then, outside the door, there was a clear and uniform sound of footsteps, the cry of yamen servants, and the sound of sword collision. "Old boy, you have bullied my princess. How can I tolerate you?" Yenbei City is just like coming from the wind. It strides in from the broken box door with a majestic look. Its eyes are as leisurely as ever, as if it were a garden trip. It seems that the fighting and killing outside the door behind him have nothing to do with him. Jiang Wu Mao color done when black as the bottom of the pot, a foot will be ruthlessly kicked in the heart of the steward, waist. Steward was kicked, mouth spit blood, but did not dare to move, mouth repeatedly beg for mercy. Jiang Wu is no longer looking at him, eyes cage on a layer of cruel color, are still in a daze to do what, do not hurry up, take him down. As soon as the words came down, the people who had been around the hall responded. They quickly grasped the sword in their hands and wanted to kill Yen Beiqing. Yen Beiqing didn't move his eyebrows. When those people approached, Mo Ling and several other people in black suddenly rose from his side and faced the dozens of guards. Although those bodyguards have high martial arts skills, Mo Ling and others all can block the existence of 5. Even now there are not enough people and they are not inferior. Yenbei City passed through the middle of the fight as if nothing had happened. Every line was protected by Mo Ling until Mo Shanghua was near, and he didn't hurt half of his clothes. Old boy, do you really think that if the gate is sealed there will be no one to use? To tell you the truth, I have countless hidden stakes in Wujuan. In addition, the gang of minions I brought to deal with you are enough. Yen North City is not smiling of congealing. Jiang Wu, Lang voice opening. This king also wants to thank you, sealed the city gate in time. Jiang Wu's face suddenly changed. He quickly walked to the side of the window, opened the window and looked out at the market. Under the window, the Yamen servants, who were originally surrounded by Qinghuan Pavilion, were already in a mess. They were fighting with a group of people dressed as guards in black. Everywhere they could reach, they were in a bloody mess. Jiang Wu's heart suddenly sank, and his hand holding the window bar could not help tightening. He pondered for a few seconds. Suddenly, a fierce color flashed in his eyes. Then, he turned out of the window with one hand holding the window lattice. This box is located on the 2nd floor. When he went down through the window, he wanted to use the protruding cornice of the window to ease his strength, but unexpectedly he stepped on the air and fell down. Fortunately, he did not fall directly to the ground, but hit the crowd fighting, a Yamen outside. The Yamen servant vomited blood and died on the spot. On the contrary, it was Jiang Wu who covered the fall and got up with a little pain on his shoulder. Before anyone noticed him, he quickly turned the corner and walked into the alley without any trace. The flower eyebrow heart light Siu on the Mo, busy and quick step to the window side, Hang Mao to carefully search a circle in the downstairs, but also saw Jiang Wu turn into the body shape in the alley just. How come it's gone so soon, princess? How can it be good? Qinya was silent for a long time. Then she looked up and worried. The sheriff's mansion has been controlled now. He will not go back. Now there is only one place where he will go. The flowers on the street take back their eyes and voice. Yen North City leisurely walked to her side, eyebrow light pick. Princess think, next step how to do? You should be clear too. The flower eyes on the street are as bright as a blade, with a faint smile, falling straight on Yenbei City. Yen Beiqing's eyes were dark and deep, and his face didn't change at all. It's better for the princess to make a decision when I'm confused. Mo Shanghua didn't want to push off Yen Beiqing. He looked away and said in a light voice, "Give me a few people. I'll go after them myself." Jiang Wu knows too much, and there are many foundations in Wu Prefecture. If we don't eradicate them, we will only leave hidden dangers, which is a situation that we have to eliminate. Boring. Yen Beiqing turned his mouth and looked at Mo Ling and others who had solved the guards. He said, "Just a few of you, go with the princess. Remember, the words of the princess are the same as those of the king, and there is no objection." It seems that he just ordered a few people at random, but in fact they were all the right people under his command, and he gave such an order. As Mo Ling bent down to accept the order, he was secretly frightened in his heart, and his eyes became more and more strange. Mo Shanghua didn't notice that the look of several people was that he glanced at them at will and then walked away. Instead of directly entering the lane where Jiang Wu first advanced, she directly went out of the flower street and rushed to the gate from the most central official road. Mo Shanghua knows that Jiang Wu is also a smart man. If he is not stupid, he should guess that the sheriff's mansion has been controlled by them at this time, and now there is only the castle to go. Jiang Wu walked around the alleys and ran along a shortcut to the city gate. He arrived much earlier than Mo Shanghua. However, the situation in front of him made him feel stunned, and his face turned black. I saw that all the heavy soldiers he had arranged here were lying on the ground now. It seemed that they were all drugged and couldn't wake up for a moment. Little bitches. Jiang Wu clenched his teeth and squeezed out a word from between his teeth. It seemed that he could drip water. Sheriff Jiang still has time to speak ill of me at this time. I think there is a panacea. It's when I'm angry that the cool voice of the flowers in the street rings. Then she walked slowly towards the gate with a leisurely pace. Her delicate and beautiful face was calm and indifferent as usual. After her, Mo Ling and the other 2 dark guards with short swords follow her step by step. They all have steady steps and reserved breath. One can see that their martial arts are extraordinary. Jiang Wu's face suddenly changed. He subconsciously stepped back a few steps, but his mouth was full of momentum. Do you really want to kill everything? As he spoke, the color of his eyes flashed, and it seemed that there was some essence passing by. The original movement of backward pause, and then quickly back to the gate, push the gate. However, after he pushed for a long time, the gate was as still as a mountain and could not be pushed for half a minute. Mo Shanghua stood in the same place, quietly looking at Jiang Wu's shape, and did not move half a minute. Why do you have to do this useless work? To tell you the truth, the gate of the city was locked when I ordered people to poison these people. If you can go out, there are soldiers outside the gate. You can't escape. After a pause, her voice slightly contained the meaning of extermination. Jiang Wu, you have committed many crimes, and now you dare to plot rebellion. Today, my princess will kill you personally and reply to the imperial city. Jiang Wu's face turned blue and white. He clenched his fists tightly, gritted his teeth and said, You've already arranged everything today? The flowers on the street did not answer, but just quietly coagulated Jiang Wu. The look in his eyes was quiet and deep, as if Jiang Wu had nothing to do with him. Jiang Wu stares at Mo Shenghua's eyes for a while. Then he suddenly thinks of something. His pupils dilate and exclaim, No, no, it's more than that. You deliberately forced me to fight back, including today's maid. What she said was also false. She was also a part of your plan. The so-called evidence to punish me is just flavoring. Mo Tong turned slightly, and her red lips picked lightly. I remember that I had admitted before that I was deliberately forcing you to fight against me, and you are not stupid, but smart is mistaken by smart. The shock on Jiang Wu's face didn't fade for a long time. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and stared at the flowers in the street with hatred. I'm not good, you don't want to be good either, bitch. With that, he suddenly turned aside and ran to the side of the city building. Then he closed the wooden carved door tightly. Then he quickly moved many desks and chairs to block the door from inside. Come down. Without waiting for Mo Shanghua to start, Mo Ling went forward first, carried his internal power and kicked the door hard. About as Jiang Wudu's thing too many, the wood-carving door just violent trembled, did not fall. Go on. Mo Shanghua's eyes are fixed on the wooden door, and he orders in a light voice. Mo Ling nodded, busy continued to carry internal force, leaving no spare force toward the wood door kick. After several times in succession, the wooden door was kicked out of the frame, and then it fell back on the table and chair cabinet inside. The other 2 dark guards came forward to help clear away. The houses in the city building were already in a mess. Jiang Wu's body was not seen, but there was an inner room not far in front of him. Mo Shanghua Mao Guang cautiously swept from the front of the inner room door, pondered for a while, just pushed the door and entered. Just pushed the door to go in front of cold light suddenly a flash, a long sword blade then fiercely stabbed toward her. Mo Shanghua was surprised. She grabbed an unlighted candlestick beside her and blocked the blow. Then she lifted her eyes and swept around the room. Looking around, there are dozens of people in black with swords standing in such a narrow inner room, and their costumes are the same as those seen in Qinghuan Pavilion. Hua Qingling's eyes suddenly coagulate on the street. He wanted to leave the room first, but Mo Ling and others noticed the movement of the inner room and rushed in. The rest of the people in black rushed towards them. The small room suddenly became crowded and could not even fight. Fortunately, Mo Ling and others are highly skilled in martial arts. Even if they are good at martial arts, they can only hold them down for a while, but they can't really deal with them. Lead them out. Mo Shanghua leads the two people in black out of the inner room and orders Mo Ling and others to go down. Mo Ling and others secretly wrote it down. They listened to the orders and began to change their moves. They solved what the man in black could solve as soon as possible and let out all the difficult ones. Lead the man in black to the outside, and there is a lot of space to show. But after a while, Mo Shanghua will solve the two men in black who are entangled with her, and quickly return to the previous inner room and lock the door from the internal force temporarily. There was another person in black who had not gone out in the room. She shot a silver needle directly from her finger. Before the person in black rushed over, she shot the silver needle into the man in black's eyebrow, and the man in black fell to the ground heavily. Just after a fight, the house was already full of scars. The smell of blood filled the nose, but the flowers on the street seemed unheard of. Without expression, they came forward and searched around the house. Jiang Wu just disappeared here. There is a secret way here. She must not let Jiang Wu run away. According to Jiang Wu's previous arrangement of organs, Mo Shanghua starts directly from the wall, knocks on the wall, and then pushes away a brick and stone. A secret passage suddenly shows its face from the corner. Mo Shanghua clenched the dagger in his hand, quickly measured it in his mind, and then quickly stepped into the dark path. The secret passage is different from that in the sheriff's mansion. It is not a straight and wide passage. The passage here is slightly narrow and winding, just like the alley in the market. Rao is also a stranger. Eyebrows cannot help but gently see you. A time also hesitated down. Among these roads, there must be a dead end. If you go wrong, you will be doomed. His life can't be saved, let alone catch Jiang Wu. Mo Shanghua stood in the same place, frowning at the lane leading to the three directions in front of her eyes, thinking to herself in her heart. Jiang Wu walked clean and left no trace, so she didn't even have anything to refer to. About this time, Jiang Wu had already left the city. The flower heart on the street thought disorderly for a moment, and then realized that he was busy and continued to think. According to the location of the secret passage and the location of the tower, her eyes ran across a glimmer of light. Eyes of a sudden turn, it fell on the right fork in the road. Eyes show firm color, got up and walked. It's a lot smoother along the way. There's no secret passage. Occasionally, there are a few intersections. The flowers in the street choose the one on the far right. Everything looks very calm. And the princess? Yen Beicheng looked at a room of corpses, as well as a falling eardrop of flowers on the street. His white face sank down bit by bit, and there seemed to be a storm gathering slowly in his deep eyes. Mo Ling and others knelt down and buried their heads deeply. When my subordinates cleaned up the people outside, there was no princess in the house. It was because my subordinates were not good at doing things. I begged the Lord to punish them. Punishment? Yen Beicheng sneered, and his eyes almost burst out with anger. If the princess is hit by Jiang Wu's plan, what's the matter? Do you think it can be done just by punishment? Mo Ling did not dare to lift his head. His eyes were full of dignified, and a little surprised. My subordinates should die. For decades, Yen Beicheng has always been a strategist. Before he knew the situation, he was so furious. It seems that the woman really has great ability. However, Rao knew that Yen Beicheng was not calm at this time, and he did not dare to remind him. If he did not say it well, it would add fuel to the fire. Yen Beicheng tightly holds the eardrop in his hand, as if trying to rub her into the blood. His deep eyes are full of violence. but it seems that he is trying to bear it. For a long time, his hand holding the eardrop was a little loose, and the tyrannical color in his eyes was slightly flat. His eyes were sharp, and he swept around the room for a long time. Only after a long time could he bear the tyrannical killing intention in his heart and command in a deep voice, "Look, I must find the secret way here in a stick of incense. And Jiang Wu, if you catch him, you will be killed immediately." After a pause, he glanced at Mo Ling and others who were still kneeling on the ground. His voice was as cold as that of people falling into the ice lake. "When the princess has found it, you all go to get the punishment by yourself." "Yes." Several people did not dare to say more, and they responded in unison. Mo Shanghua thought that the road would go smoothly, but she still took a few wrong steps in the dark road. "It's not that I went into the killing array. I just went to a dead end and had to go back the same way. It took a lot of time. In this dark road for a long time, I don't know how long it took for me to walk. When I finally passed a winding place, I saw a bright light on the road ahead. The flower eye color on the street is a condensation, but there is no hurry to come forward, but pull out the hairpin between the hair and throw it to the bright light." The silver hairpin fell on the ground, rolled a few rolls on the ground, and stopped in Kenken, but there was no movement. Mo Shanghua just breathed a sigh of relief, walked forward, and then saw the top of the head of the bright exit suddenly covered with a green slate. The exit from the outside closed, issued a heavy dull sound. "Little bitch, since you have come in, you can't go out anymore. You will stay here for the rest of your life." Jiang Wu's wild voice came from above, and he seemed very proud. The color of flower eyes on the street changed slightly, but it didn't stop for a moment. Suddenly, the toe of the foot was on the ground, and the whole person jumped up, and the palm of the hand pushed towards the blue stone board on the top of the head. The blue stone suddenly trembled, and then it was forced to lift up, showing the bright spots outside. But the flower on the street did not dare to hesitate, and took advantage of the gap, and slipped out from the gap like a light butterfly. In the dark road for a long time, outside the sun spend a time also some do not adapt, cannot help but squint, drooping eyes to their just out of the direction. The blue stone slab she had just pushed away had been broken into two on the floor nearby, while Jiang Wu, who had already moved to the cabinet beside the entrance of the cave, had fallen on the ground askew, as if it was caused by the huge impact of the blue stone slab just now. As for Jiang Wu, he was very unlucky to be pressed under the cupboard, but his body was not pressed, and his only leg was pressed to death. His face was twisted and he could not help scolding "bitch." Such a big noise fell, and there was a commotion outside. After a while, 10 bodyguards rushed in. The flower on the street squinted and found that it was Yen Beiqing. Guards see the situation inside the house is also Lung Lung, and then busy kneel down in front of the flowers on the street. "See, princess. Tie up Jiang Wu, you all get up first." Mo Shanghua nodded. Mao Guang swept a circle in the house. "See this house furnishings extravagant? Lu Mei micro see you. I ask you, here is the sheriff's house?" "Yes." "Well, this must be Jiang Wu's bedroom." Unexpectedly, in addition to burying the secret road in the study, Jiang Wu even digs here in all directions. He must have emptied the whole land in Wujuan City. The flower eyes on the street were a little pale, and walked slowly to Jiang Wu, who had been suppressed by the guards. As soon as the guards saw the flowers coming, they were not in a hurry to tie up Jiang Wu and knelt him down. Jiang Wu's leg had just been crushed by the cupboard, and it was almost broken. Since then he heard a click sound, and his leg bone directly dislocated. The pain made him cry again. Mo Shanghua saw that he was so miserable. He never frowned and looked down at him. "First, your secret way didn't trap me. Second, it didn't protect me. It just delayed the time of your death." Jiang Wu's face was completely twisted, and he couldn't even care about the pain in his legs. His eyes were full of hatred. "Little bitch, do you really think that if you kill me, everything will be all right? It's a dream. I'll tell you the truth, I'm from the Imperial City. If you kill me, the Imperial City will immediately know that you and your waste wood will not survive. Besides, I've already sent a message to the imperial city about the change of that rubbish. You are all dead. The color of mockery in the flower eyes on the street is getting stronger and stronger, and the vermilion lips are curving coldly. So what about knowing? Her eyes, which used to be pure and clear, were now filled with pride and self-confidence, as if she were the queen above. Jiang Wu was stunned, and then suddenly thought that this place was also the emperor of Tiangao. His eyes suddenly burst with a thick color of reluctance, and he could not help gritting his teeth. You are absolutely rampant for a long time. You must be like me. It's a bad ending. Take it down. After a hard day's work, Mo Shanghua didn't want to waste her words with Jiang Wu, so she told her to go on. The bodyguards did not move, hesitated for a moment. One of them said, "Report back to the princess. The prince has just given an order. If you catch this person, kill immediately. By the way, the Lord is looking for you. He seems very anxious." To me. Mo Shanghua's attention is put on the second half of the sentence. There is a moment of confusion in the eyes, and then seems to think of something. The eyes of the micro cannot be checked across a bit of chagrin, more delicate than the hair cannot be checked. She had only focused on catching Jiang Wu before, and she didn't have time to talk to Mo Ling, let alone leave a mark in the secret way. It must be that Yan Beiqing thought she was in Jiang Wu's plan at this time. It is chagrin at the moment. Behind the dark road suddenly came a slight movement. Mo flower eyes suddenly surge on the color of vigilance. Plain hand once again touched the waist blood dagger. Unexpectedly, the movement rang for a while, but suddenly a man came out of the cave. The flower on the street looked carefully and saw that the man was Yanbei City. Yan Beiqing's description at this time was not embarrassed, but his hair was a little messy. What's more surprising is that at this time, his original dandy style has disappeared, and his whole body is full of tyranny. It seems that with a little bit, he can completely explode. He narrowed his eyes and swept around the room. When the light of his eyes fell on the flower, he suddenly had a meal. Most of the violence in his eyes faded in a flash, leaving only a little surprise, a little joy of recovery, and a little emotion that he could not understand. The next second, he suddenly came forward and hugged Mo Shanghua in his arms. He pressed her head into his chest, as if he wanted to rub her into his body. Mo Shanghua was almost out of breath. Mo Shanghua was stunned for a long time before she came back to herself. She subconsciously raised her hand and gently pushed Yan Beiqing, but failed to push him away. Instead, she was hugged more tightly. For a moment, she was stunned. She didn't know what to do. She didn't even know how to put her hands and feet. For the first time, she was a bit helpless in her eyes. The surrounding air seems to be at this moment, stagnating and gluing down. For a long time, Mo Shanghua thought later that Yan Beiqing should be worried about her. That's why I'm so excited. That's why I hold her tight. Her tentative Yan Beiqing whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice. I have nothing to do. Her tentative Yan Beiqing whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice. But did not expect, Yan Beiqing body meal, and then gently pushed her away from his arms, two hands holding her delicate cheek, drooping eyes deeply staring at her. At this time, Yanbei City seemed to be back to normal, but it was not the way he looked like King Yu in front of outsiders. It was like the momentum of a man in a cloak, but it was not like him. In the eyes of the cloak people, they are always indifferent, deep and unpredictable. But in front of Yan Beiqing, although the look in the eyes is still unpredictable, it clearly reflects the delicate cheek of flowers on the street. The flower on the road can't help but be a Zheng again, haven't walked out from his eyes for a long time. It was Yan Beiqing who regained his mind and held her in his arms again. In a flash, his voice returned to his usual dandy appearance, with some grievances. Princess, you can make me easy to find. Before the flowers on the street could speak, Jiang Wu could not help exclaiming, You are all pretending to be crazy. What's more, it's impossible for ordinary people to find an exit without being trapped for 10 or 8 days. It's okay to have flowers on the street. If Yanbei City is really a waste wood, how can it be so smooth? It seems that he is not only a waste wood, but also a genius in 10,000. Yan Beicheng's eyes flashed a very fine intention to kill, and his voice was impatient. Why is this old boy still here? I said that if I catch him, I will kill him. The bodyguard knelt down and pleaded guilty. Jiang Wu's face was frightened again. Mo Shanghua grabs Yan Beicheng's arm and shakes his head. Yan Beicheng, some of the remaining parties in Wujuan have not been eliminated. This man can't be killed. Yan Beicheng frowned slightly and looked down as if thinking. For a long time he raised his head, flat mouth, face of reluctance, then listened to the princess. Take him down, good health care. The bodyguards were relieved, and then tied up Jiang Wu and took him down. By that time, it was already bright outside. Mo Shanghua glanced at the sky outside, and then relaxed a little. She casually found a rag to wipe away the bloody dagger, and then found a seat to take a rest. Yan Beicheng brought a chair and sat down next to her. He ordered someone to bring a pot of tea. He poured it in front of the flowers on the street and said with a smile, "The princess has been busy for so long. She must be thirsty. Drink some quickly." Mo Shanghua nodded and drank the tea. Just put down the teacup. Yan Beicheng came forward and carefully raised her hand to wipe off the water stains on her lips. Mo Shanghua pushed away Yan Beicheng's hand, turned his head and didn't look at Yan Beicheng's eyes. He said as if to resolve the embarrassment, "By the way, when Jiang Wu's party members are removed in a few days, you can put people in, and then Jiang Wu will directly commit rebellion and previous crimes, beheading on the street, as for the imperial city side." Thinking of this, I can't help frowning slightly. My eyes are a little worried. Jiang Wu seems to have found your abnormality a few days ago. He has sent someone to report to the imperial city quietly. With a few trash he sent out? Yan Beicheng is disdainful of hook lips, eyes full of fearless color. Princess need not worry, those people have been waiting for Jiang Wu below. As for the imperial city. After a pause, he smiles and pours a cup of tea into the hand of the flower. I'm a man, but I'm the one who supports everything. You just need to be your princess. I'll be fine. Mingming looks at such an unreliable person on weekdays. When he says these words, he feels inexplicable peace of mind. It seems that he has taken a reassuring pill. Good. The corner of the lips of the flowers on the street is shallow, and the worry between the eyebrows and eyes dissipates. Yan Beicheng's lips rose with him. He was in a good mood. I've never seen you smile like this before. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and touched her lips, feeling a little trance in her heart. Her heart is cold. She seldom laughs with her heart. Most of her heart is just for fun. Now, why on earth? When he was puzzled, Yan Beicheng suddenly came up to her and stared at her cheek. You look pretty when you smile. They all say that people are just like their names. It seems that I still don't know what your name is. As he spoke, a dark color rose from the bottom of his eyes. To be honest, he had overheard her many times and knew her name. But she never said it to him personally, and he always felt sorry for it in his heart. After Yan Beicheng said so, Mo Shanghua seemed to realize that he had never mentioned his name to him. Once upon a time, I didn't think it was necessary. Now that he asked, she didn't have to hide anything. Flowers on the road. She turned her eyes slightly, her voice was clear and calm, like the breeze in the valley, and she rode from the heart of Yan Beicheng. Flowers on the street. He drooped his eyes and whispered softly. The thick eyelashes covered up the look in his eyes. The flowers on the street stared at him for a long time, only wondering, what's the matter, but what's wrong? No, it's just nice. Yan Beicheng suddenly raised his eyes. His smiling eyebrows were curved and his eyes were shining. It's getting late. You go back to clean up and eat something. You don't have to worry about other things. I will do it well. Late at night has been working. Mo Shanghua nature is also tired, listened to him say so, then also nodded, good. Then he got up and went back. See Mo Shanghua go far. Yan Beicheng also got up, turned to go to the main hall. Mo Ling and others had been waiting in the hall for a long time. When they saw Yan Beicheng coming, they all saluted in turn. Yan Beicheng went to several people and waved to them to get up. I hear the princess has been found? The room has not been quiet for a while. Mo Ling tentatively asked. Yen North City light, air, obsidian like dark deep eyes, no wave no land, but also unpredictable. But fortunately, there is no anger. My subordinates will go to get the punishment when they have something to report. Mo Lingwei breathed a sigh of relief. The family members Jiang Wu sent away quietly a few days ago have been captured. The leaders in the city have also been captured. Only a few of them are still running away. Their subordinates have already ordered people to catch them. They will be able to catch them in a few days. However, how to deal with these people, please show me. The city gate will continue to be closed for one day until those people are caught. The city gate will be open tomorrow morning, but strict investigation is still needed to prevent the rest of the party from escaping. Yen Beicheng seemed to have thought it over for a long time, but without thinking about it, he just said, after catching those people, they will all be killed 3 days later. Jiang Wu's family members are just like the old law. They can do whatever they want to do. Yes. Mo Ling's eyes should be lowered, and he has written it down in his heart. Yen North City negative hand stands in front of a few people, then seemed to think of what general open mouth again. The person that Lu Jun transfers arrived? It's already here. Arrange for them to hand over the affairs of Wujuan as soon as possible. Yen Beicheng's voice was steady. Everything seemed to have been planned in his heart, and he arranged it in an orderly way. Just after giving orders, a dark Wei suddenly ran in and knelt down on one knee. Lord, there are still some trivial things in the Lin family. You need to deal with them yourself. Yen Beicheng had been busy for a long time for the fat meat of the Lin family. Seeing this, he didn't say much. He nodded his head and ordered some other things. Then he changed his clothes and went. In recent days, everything in Wujuan has been dealt with by Yanbei City, and the gate of the city can't get out for a while. It's rare for the flowers on the street to steal their leisure time. Just listen to the news Qinya inquires about every day. This day, Mo Shanghua had nothing to do after dinner, so he leaned on the beauty couch to read the historical books. Seeing this, Qinya took a plate of fruit and put it on the table beside her. Princess, I heard that Jiang Wu had already killed her. Do you know that there are still robbers today? As a result, the Lord has long expected and deliberately set up a plan. Not only those people will never come back, but also all the rest of the party will be killed. Mo Shanghua has learned about the strength of Yanbei City in recent days. For example, the officials in charge of the upper and lower affairs in the city reshuffle their cards and become their own people in just 2 days. Even the order of the city has not been affected much. For example, Jiang Wuyu's party, by blocking the gate of the city and instigating trouble among the people, almost fought with the city guards. Before waiting for her to be informed, Yen Beicheng dealt with it by himself. It can be seen how deep his disguise has been for so many years. Mo Shanghua has long been used to listening. Mao Guang did not leave from the page, only nodded faintly, I know. Qinya's face was full of excitement. She was about to talk about something. Yu Guang glanced at Yen Beicheng, who was coming behind her. She hushed and retreated quietly. The flowers on the street are enchanted and have never been noticed. Yen Beicheng took the scroll out of her hand and looked at her with a full face of resentment. What did the princess see so absorbed, even the king didn't care? Mo Shanghua sat up slowly and took the book back and put it in place. She explained in a low voice, just look at it casually. Are you done with your affairs? It's almost there. Yen Beicheng nodded casually, and then came to her mysteriously, I'm here this time, but I've prepared a small gift for you. What gift? The eyebrows and eyes on the street are still the same color. Knowing that Mo Shanghua had always been indifferent and didn't like to guess, Yen Beicheng took a small stack of paper from her sleeve, put it into her hand and looked at her with a smile. Mo Shanghua looked at the papers one by one. After reading them all, she was a little surprised and frowned. Isn't this Lin's shop? How can you have these? You don't care how you came here. You just need to know, and then you will take care of all these things for the time being. Yen Beicheng was afraid that the flowers would not be collected, so he told a lie. Mo Shanghua's ruddy lips are slightly pursed. Looking down at these shop wedges, I feel complicated. How could she not know that it was all Yan Beiqing's pretext? But why did he treat himself so well? They were just mutually beneficial. If they were given to him, he would not get the same benefits. On the other hand, if these things fall into her hands and Qian Lin is there, she will have the whole wealth of Wu County in her hands. He is not afraid that she will try to make huge profits and stir up the people's riots just like Qian Lin. Yan Beiqing seemed to see her idea, but he couldn't help laughing again. You're not thinking about why I'm so good to you, are you? Don't think about it. It's just because I have so many things on hand that I can't help it. But only he knows that these things are not easy to get. Mo Shanghua eyebrow heart still don't show, can't help but lift eyes to stare at Yan Beiqing's eyes to see, but always can't see through, simply don't conjecture, temporarily put things away. However, in front of Yan Beiqing, she suddenly didn't know what to say. She could not help holding the corner of her clothes and was worried. As if he could not see her thoughts, Yan Beiqing put his face directly in front of her, just like a dandy, and said with a smile, I know that you are excited, and I don't know what to do. In this way you will treat it as a gift in return. Yan Beiqing's good and white face was close to his eyes. Hua Er-jen in the street couldn't help getting hot. He pushed him away. Wu got up and stepped back a few steps. Don't play a rascal. I won't do that. Yan Beiqing's eyes swept over her red ing-run earlobe, and her deep eyes could not help but catch a faint smile. Just as she was about to step forward, Mo Ling burst in at this time, looking in a hurry, as if there was something urgent to report. Yan Beiqing suddenly, as if he had been hit by a good thing, said angrily, What's the matter in such a hurry? Mo Shanghua sees this, the earlobe is more and more hot, busy called Qinya to come over. Qinya, let's go first. Qinya with a smile, busy nodding, such as pounding garlic behind the flowers. My king has allowed you to go? Yan Beiqing frowned unhappily and pulled the flower back directly. Then he didn't give her the chance to speak. He said to himself, Mo Ling, you just say that there is no one else here. Mo Shanghua's wrist was tightly held by Yan Beiqing, and he couldn't get rid of it. He wanted to refute it. His eyes swept to Mo Ling. After thinking about it, he calmed down and watched quietly for a while. Mo Ling has become more and more accustomed to Yan Beiqing's indulgence in Mo Shanghua. He nods, takes out an urgent secret letter from his sleeve and hands it to Yan Beiqing. Yan Beiqing opened and looked closely, but his face was dignified, and his hand holding the flowers on the street was relaxed. Hua Mei's heart beat. Before he could ask questions, he saw Yan Beiqing throw the letter to Mo Ling, and the color behind it was dignified. He said, Take some people with you and leave immediately. I'll catch up with you later. After reading the contents of the secret letter, Mo Ling's face was also dignified. He answered in a busy voice, Yes. What happened? Mo Shanghua's eyes were a little confused, and he could not help asking softly. Yan Beiqing was silent for a while. He just turned his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His eyes were dark and deep. Something urgent happened. I have to leave Wujuan. However, Wujuan has just settled down. There is no danger. You have to leave Wujuan with me. After a pause, he raised his hand and gently grasped the soft hands of flowers on the street. I will send you back to Yuzhou first, and I will start tonight. Although Mo Shanghua didn't know what Yan Beiqing was doing, he knew that it must be a bit tricky. He nodded, Okay, I'll clean it up now and come back to you in the evening. Yan Beiqing is not sure because she can't help now. Besides, she has nothing to do in Wujuan now. It's time to go back. There's no need to stay here. Yuzhou is the place where she should go back to fight. It is an indispensable step for her revenge. Mo Shanghua left Qin Lin in Wujuan for the time being and asked him to look after the fields in the suburbs. He also took care of Qian Lin and the Lin family, so he packed up and went back to Yuzhou with Yan Beiqing. Wujuan was only 2 days away from Yuzhou. Because of the emergency, he rushed to Yuzhou in only 1.5 days. Yanbei City didn't even enter Yuzhou City, so he said goodbye to Mo Shanghua and rushed to the border. At that time, it was only noon. Before she arrived at the palace, she saw many figures standing in front of the palace. It seems that most of them are women. On the street, Hua Su gently lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked out carefully. Seeing this, her eyes were a bit thoughtful. After a long time, he closed his eyes and sat back again. Princess, what's the matter, but what's wrong? Qinya sits on the side of the flower on the street and asks in a low voice. Nothing. Emo Shanghua shakes her head and doesn't want to say more. Seeing this, Qinya didn't ask much, so she nodded and said nothing more. Just as they were talking, the steady speed of the carriage slowed down. Then a respectful voice came in, Princess, here you are. Please get out of the car. Before the flowers on the street answered, Qinya went ahead and helped her down slowly beside the carriage when the flowers came out. Mo Shanghua stood still, and his eyes were light, which swept slowly from the door of King Yu's mansion. The gate of the palace is as brilliant as ever, and the figure you just saw from afar is clear at this time. It is the Yings in the affiliated courtyard of Yanbei City, and Nanha is the leader. Today's season, although it is not yet summer, is not as refreshing as in the past, and just in the afternoon, some Ji concubines' faces are sweating, their makeup is beaten by sweat, some flowers, and their faces are quite impatient. Nanha, who is independent in the front, has sweat on his face, but he doesn't know what kind of powder he used. His makeup is not in disorder, and he can't see half of his impatience on his face. As soon as she saw the flowers coming, she took the lead to step forward. Ying Fu body, maidservant concubine rate each courtyard Ji concubine, welcome the princess back to the house. Ji Qie, who followed her, responded and followed Fu Shun to salute. Get up. The flowers on the street gathered a bit of tired color on the face and spoke in a low voice. Princess Xie. The flower on the street nodded her chin, and her eyes could not help falling on Nan He. I came back in a hurry, but I didn't have time to send someone to inform me. Nanji's news is very good. I'll wait here early. It's really hard for you. Nanha slightly narrowed his eyes and staggered the sight of the flowers on the street. The etiquette was very comprehensive. The Lord sent someone to send a letter back early in the morning. The concubine Wang is the main room, and the maids and concubines should welcome each other in person. Princess, I've already ordered people to prepare lunch. This meeting should be almost over. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept from Nanhee's face. Seeing that her face was neither humble nor overbearing, and her posture was dignified and gentle, she couldn't see any flaws. Her eyes couldn't help deepening. This person may be more difficult to deal with than Lu Qianqian. In her heart, she just glanced at her face. Then she went around Nanha and went to the mansion. Who can I show you? Pingji saw the flowers on the street go away, and she wiped the sweat on her cheek with a handkerchief. She grumbled discontentedly. The rest of the concubines were discontented. You and I are concubines of Ji. We should be waiting for the princess here. What can we complain about? South Crane thin eyebrow light Siyu, softly rebuke. Yen Beicheng is favored by Nan He, and everyone in the house knows about it. At this time, when he sees her admonishment, he is also very angry. He has to reluctantly accept the dissatisfaction on his face. Yes, I am taught. We are all sisters. We don't have to. Get up quickly. Nan has said so, but he didn't go to help Pingji up. I've been drying here for so long. Sisters, no matter how hot the weather is, this makeup will never be used. Later, I'll ask Yuaner to send you a box. It's the right as an apology for bringing you here to wait. Ji Qie, who had been dissatisfied with each other's faces, softened a lot and began to flatter with a smile. If Mo Shanghua saw this scene, he would have a good sigh. The South Crane slapped a sweet jujube. He really had a good time. He gave himself a good impression, not to mention, but also gave her a lot of hatred by the way. Mo Shanghua just arrived in the hall. Nan He's maid followed her and led her to the master's seat. Then she told the servant girls to arrange the dishes as soon as possible. These dishes are all very exquisite, and the banquet is also very well arranged. It can be seen that Nanha really bothered. Mo Shanghua sits on the top of the throne, but she doesn't move her chopsticks. Yu Guang sweeps the tardy Nan He and others. After they sit down, she moves her chopsticks. After a whole day's driving, the dry food on the road was no more delicious than these meals. Just now, she just kept the etiquette and didn't let go. Nanha sits gracefully on the flower's head in the street, and his eyes scan the flower quietly from time to time, and the dark light flickers in the deep of his pupils. The princess and the prince have been away for more than a month. My concubine heard that there are many mobs in Wujuan, which is extremely unsafe. I don't know what trouble the princess has encountered. The flower head on the street also did not lift, after swallowing the thing in the mouth, just slowly enunciation, small trouble, just calculate not what. It's true that with the prince, how could those mobs hurt the princess? South Crane suddenly seems to think of what general, some trance whisper. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.